Welcome into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. Landon Schmidt producing. We're Sports Time. We're with you for the next 3 hours. A lot to get into today as the Grizzlies, they're back in action tonight on the road against the Indiana Pacers. So a lot of NBA talk. We had one game last night and a ton of games tonight. Got to talk some college basketball, a little bit of everything throughout these next 3 hours. But Brett, how are you this afternoon?
Brian, I'm doing well. That game, one game last night, a makeup game.
Yeah.
That was too funny how that ended.
It was a fun game. It was. I enjoyed watching it, and Lakers had a couple opportunities and just couldn't cash in on them.
And just everybody thought they would. Nobody really expecting that close a game.
Yeah.
And, now the rest of the year, the scoreboard watching is easy. Any East versus West.
Yeah.
I'm full up for the East.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's how you got to be, especially when you're trying to defend your spot and trying to keep others behind you. Yeah, if you get a matchup that's East versus West, then it makes it a lot easier.
Got a couple of those tonight.
Yeah.
At least one that really matters. Clippers at Milwaukee really matters.
Yeah, that'll definitely be a big one. And obviously Milwaukee will have to go without Bobby Portis, who got hit with a 25-game suspension earlier this morning, so they'll be without a key piece. But, it's going to be fun to watch all these NBA games tonight.
It would be too much to ask Charlotte to do it 2 nights in a row, to do it again tonight at Denver, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think that'd be a little too much. I think you got lucky with one, and I think things are going to get back to even tonight against a well-rested Denver team.
For sure. Did you watch much of Mizzou and Alabama last night?
Yeah, I watched a good bit of it. Yeah, and I mean, this Missouri team's really impressive. They Dennis Gates, talk about it a lot. Really good coach, and after what happened last year, he has a really good squad, and he made those changes he needed to make to go out there and have a competitive group this year, and it's certainly working. That
was a Alabama team that a blink of an eye ago was number 2 and playing in a 1 versus 2 nationally celebrated and amplified game. And that's a Mizzou team. I know they were playing at home last night. Mm-hmm. That's who Memphis beat to start the college basketball season.
Yeah, and I mean they have gotten so much better since then, and
they were pretty good that night.
They were really good that night. But you see how
up at halftime in that game.
Yeah.
There was a point in that game I thought, oh no man, Tigers are going to start the season losing. by 15.
I mean, we were texting back and forth about it that night. I remember texting you and going, "Oh, this is not the way I thought the season would start." And Tigers able to rally back and win that game. But you can see this Missouri team. It's new pieces. It's guys that weren't out last year and have come back this year. And so it took some time for them to figure things out. I felt like with this roster that they'd be a really competitive, fun team. And for Alabama, you look up and just the way the schedule breaks for you is you have to play the number 1 team in the country, your rival, and then you turn around and you're in a tough road game against Missouri. So they look up now and back-to-back losses, and it doesn't get easier because next game they've got Kentucky. So I mean it's life in the SEC. It's going to be hard every game out.
And last night that was an Alabama team that Memphis saw in one of the
That's right.
Make-believe games.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with Memphis and the way Penny Hardaway likes to schedule. That they've seen a lot of the SEC, and so it's 2 teams that Memphis has seen this year.
The upper tier of college basketball and thrived against it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And so we talk about it all the time, the non-conference schedule that Penny put together. You have those 2 exhibition games against North Carolina and against Alabama, and I think nobody thought back then that North Carolina would be where they're at right now, and really struggling, and but a good opportunity to go out against that talented team, and then certainly in what was a really a road game in an exhibition against Alabama, and Alabama looked really good in that game as well, and so Memphis has seen a lot of good teams this year, and you faced a lot of good competition to get you ready.
And Brian, I don't know how he can back up from that going into next year, because even with that tough, smart scheduling, and good play against it, it still feels a little like was Sunday's big against FAU. I'm not going to say slipping away, let me see Sunday before I use a loaded term like that.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like all of that happened a long time ago. It feels like a lot has happened since your final non-conference
but
game.
It should matter.
Yeah, but that feeling of, man, that feels like it was an eternity ago when you were playing this non-conference.
It's a long season. I mean, there's nothing new about college basketball being a big part of a 2-semester sport.
Yep, absolutely.
And even bigger now. Used to. Midnight Madness was October 15th or so.
Yep.
First game was November 10th, 15th or so.
Yeah.
Even later than that. I mean, long ago, Thanksgiving weekend was really a big, in the 70s, was a big kind of opening weekend for college basketball. That sure has changed. So, I mean, it fully encompasses all of November, all of December, January, February, and for about 16 teams, all of March.
Yeah, I mean, it is a very long season, but Tigers did get good news this morning on a couple different fronts. The San Francisco game that we've talked about a lot, especially when that game happened. I know Jason Munns has been all over it really since before that game took place. Originally, the NCAA viewed that and stamped it as a neutral site game against San Francisco, which made it a quad 2 game. They have now changed that. It is now listed as an away game, which makes that a quad 1 win. So yesterday, Memphis was 5-2 in quad 1. This morning, they woke up 6-2 in quad 1. Also, Wichita State moved up in the net, so now they are a quad 2 loss. So instead of having 3 quad 3 losses, you now only have 2 quad 3 losses, now 4-1 in quad 2.
I never looked at that game against San Francisco as anything but a road game.
No, I mean, and I think that's what everyone's point was. That the university was in conversations with the NCAA trying to get them to change that. I know Jason Munns had asked them multiple times about it because everything about that game was a road game. It was being played in San Francisco. The only reason it was a quote-unquote neutral site game is because it wasn't at their facility. It was at a bigger venue. But
it was in San Francisco.
That's right, yes. And so
key part here, San Francisco.
Exactly, yes. It's in the city that San Francisco is in, yes. No, so I think NCAA making the good decision there, the right decision, I should say, to make that a road game because neutral road when it comes to the quads and the net and everything, those are viewed very differently. And like I said, I mean that gives you another quad 1 win, and so it boosts that resume just a little bit more.
Bryant, tonight the hockey game in Boston.
Yeah.
What's your over and under for fighting to begin on the ice?
It'll be less. It certainly will be less than what it was in the first meeting.
What precipitated the fighting?
It was a little bit of. I mean, it was multiple factors.
Was it over the anthem?
The anthem was a big part of it. Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Stated.
100%. I mean, guys after the first game they were super upset that was happening in their game against Finland and saying that it gave them more motivation against Canada.
That's fine. What are they going to do when we all go back to our NHL team and they go to a place like that and they have Canadian teammates?
Yeah.
I mean, how are the red-blooded Americans that are so perturbed by it? Fine.
Sure.
Fine if they are. But how do you go back into your locker room to your real job that pays you a lot of money?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question because I think that was the biggest thing when it happened is, man, these are all, NHLers that are, friends off the ice and, have history with each other and good history. And, I think, it's hockey's a different sport. They allow fighting in hockey.
This isn't the Red Army from Lake Placid.
No, but I love it. I'm all for a sports rivalry and,
Well, I am too, but is it contrived?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Not yet. I mean, it could. I mean, we'll see what happens tonight. But I think tonight would be a little less than that.
I wonder how much, and we'll see it real time on Twitter.
Yeah.
I wonder how much fighting will be in the stands.
I doubt much at all. I doubt any. I don't see any of that because I don't think there was any in Canada. And I'd be shocked if there was. I mean, maybe a couple, but that happens a lot of times. I don't think anything over what's taking place on the ice.
I mean, we don't think Wayne Gretzky and Dustin Johnson are going to throw down, do we?
No, certainly not. Certainly
It'd be
not.
really dumb on Dustin Johnson's part.
Well, yeah, that would be.
Cut him out at the wheel reading.
No, he's got a lot on the line. He can't ruin that. But no, I mean, I'm excited for it. I hope it's as intense as it was last week. And I'm forget everything else happening tonight. I'll keep an eye on the Grizzlies games. I'm locked in on hockey tonight.
What time does the hockey start?
7:00. Puck drop. 7:00. Puck drop about 7:20.
TNT?
No, ESPN. It'll be the four big letters. That's right. Yep. So that was shared between the two, and ESPN got the championship.
Well,
game,
that's just finding money for ESPN.
Oh yeah, no, the ESPN's very excited about it because it's supposed to get pretty good ratings. I mean, 4.4 million for the first one, and they're expecting even more for tonight. So
2 days from now is 45 years since. Can you believe it? Do you believe
wow.
Americans?
How about that?
45 years.
Wow.
It's the biggest international game since, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's bigger than any
Feels
gold
like
medal game.
Yeah.
There have been some good gold medal
There
games.
has, but this is big, and now you're going to see a lot more NHL international play with NHL players, which hasn't been a thing since 2014, and so it's good for the game, and I hope people are watching and see that, hey, this is super enjoyable. I just
wonder the dynamic of, okay, patriotic,
sure,
jingoistic,
sure,
pride, all great things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with all of it, but when you got to go back, when does NHL resume?
Saturday. Or
okay,
maybe a game tomorrow, but certainly Saturday.
When you got to go back and you go into that locker room and go, hey, big tough guy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm curious. I don't know off the top of my head of exactly who was fighting on that first game and who they were fighting against. And, I'm sure none of them were teammates, but, who were on that team.
I wonder if
on
there's
this
any
team.
of that. How many crossover American players and Canadian players are just teammates, whether they're fighting or not.
Yeah, no, I'm sure there's definitely crossover there, but I don't know. It would be a good question, but it's
if I'm those teams, whatever team, Boston Bruins or Colorado Avalanche, if I'm that owner, general manager, coach, I need you caring about this.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and that's been the biggest thing is, you have guys, and I think I said this the other day. You have guys quoted saying this is bigger than Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals for me. This is the biggest game of my career. This is the biggest game of my life. They are all in on this.
If I'm the owner of the New York Rangers, I don't know how much I like that.
Yeah. Well, it's
tough luck. Huh?
I guess so.
I've said contrived, and that probably wasn't the right word. I don't know what the right word is, and I'm not going to spend too much time trying to come up with it. But around Ryder Cup time, Brian, through the years, the Ryder Cup has started bothering me.
Right.
And I've joked that the biggest victory party for the European team when they win is at the Breakers in Palm Beach.
Yeah.
Because that's where they all live.
Right. Yeah.
Now they can ole all they want, and I know for that week they get on everybody's skin and that's not even for a country, that's for a continent.
That's right.
Go Euro, go.
Yeah.
Yay, go Euro.
Yeah.
I think it's a little contrived, and I think us patrons, fans, have taken the bait a little bit and have been basically obnoxious about it.
Yeah, and that's
I don't like it.
No, and that's it's harder to tell obviously with hockey what's going on in the stands than on a golf course when guys are right there 10 yards away from you shouting and stuff.
Roy wanted to fight everybody.
Yeah. So thankfully we have glass in between on hockey, so you don't.
And Rory ain't whipping anybody.
No. Rory, he's big talk in that department, that's for sure. But no, I'm excited about tonight. I'm where I'm going to watch it. I'll be sitting at.
Oh yeah.
I'll be sitting at Huey's. If
you're not gonna throw down and throw any punches with anybody.
Hey, if someone wants to walk in, if a Canadian walks in tonight, it might be on. Who knows? We might might be dropping gloves, but no, that's gonna be fun tonight. Grizzlies gonna be
no
a lot of fun
roughhousing.
No. I gotta stay in good standing there at Huey's. I don't know what I would do if I got thrown out
you'll
of Huey's.
You'll get the dual screens up. You'll get the Grizzlies and the hockey up.
Yeah. We'll probably
You got
go
that
in
much
there
stroke?
yeah, I think so. I mean, it depends on how busy it is. We'll probably be like, hey, let's get this TV on the hockey, this TV on the Grizzlies, and
That's a good night.
and let's go. So it should be fun. Get both of them going. But we've got a lot to get into today, so let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story. 3:30, Drew Darman is going to join us from 97.7 ESPN in Huntsville. He'll join us. We'll talk Auburn, Alabama, and the SEC. Drew super locked in with everything going on down in the state of Alabama. 3:45, we'll talk Grizzlies as they're back in action tonight on the road against the Pacers. I know everyone excited to see this Grizzlies team back in action following the All-Star break as they'll enter as the 2 seed in the Western Conference, and now going to try to play a little defense, try to protect that seeding in the Western Conference, and that starts tonight against an Eastern Conference foe in the Indiana Pacers. 4 o'clock, Keith Smith from Spa Track and the Front Office Show will join us to talk the NBA. Plenty to get to in the NBA. I'll talk just a little bit about All-Star Weekend, but you got Victor Wembanyama out for the season, Bobby Portis suspended, so much going on.
I'm glad I was going to go see Wemby every time he came to town.
Yeah. Glad you.
I got that out of the way February 3rd. That was the end of it.
Yeah, you're not going to have another opportunity this year. So we'll definitely talk a lot of NBA with Keith Smith. 4:30, Doug Kazarian from OnlyPlayers.com in Vegas. He'll join us. We'll talk some wagering with him, get some picks. Doug has switched gears now that the football season is over. He's locked in on the NBA and college basketball, so we'll definitely get some picks from Doug. 4:45, we'll get to big number of the day. 5 o'clock, Greg Gaston will join us to talk Tigers. We'll talk about the loss against Wichita State. We'll talk about the game coming up this weekend against FAU, everything that's going on. Between that, we'll do it at 5 o'clock with Greg Gaston. 5:30, we'll get to what's trending, and at 5:45, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Crunch Time. Let me remind you, we're in our Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together. It's the preseason pool and patio sale going on now at Family Leisure. Spring is just around the corner, and it's time to start thinking about your backyard entertainment. 2024 pricing on all above-ground pools and patio furniture. Beat the rush and get in line for your pool installation right now. Patio furniture is up to 70% off to make room for the incoming inventory, and play gyms, trampolines, and outdoor kitchens. They're on sale too. Don't forget about the spas, now up to $3,000 off. And if you mention this ad, you'll get a $250 gift card with a pool, spa, or patio furniture set. So head out to Family Leisure, 2120 Witten Road, just north of I-40.
Produced by Landon Schmidt. We are Sportstime. He's Bryant. I'm Brett. We're with you until 6 o'clock, and we want you to be a part of our show by texting or calling 901-360-8255. That's the Sissy's Log Cabin text and talk line. All our guests will appear on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line at 901-360-8255. Always from our Family Leisure Studios. In this hour, always brought to you every day by Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Great offers on all 2025 models and always special leasing options. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Call them at 901-334-9673, but they want you to stop by the only Lexus dealership in Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2025 flagship LS500, and you'll be driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the safe luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, my top story of the day is the Grizzlies back in action tonight. We talked a lot about what we want to see happen during yesterday's show, but it's a lot of the same. I mean, it's what we've been talking about before the break. Nothing changed. It's just we had some days off, and now it feels like the finish line is somewhat in sight down the road. 28 games left. And the biggest thing I want to see is limiting those turnovers. I think you look at a lot of these games and, where that other team gets their momentum in some of these losses to run away with it or get that lead and get that win is in the turnover department. They're getting those turnovers from the Grizzlies. They're turning them into points. We'd love to see the Grizzlies limit those turnovers, but it is going to be fun tonight to see this Grizzlies team in full force. We've been talking about it. You saw that Grizzlies PR put out the status report last night, and the only guys listed as out were the two-way players. Nobody injured, completely healthy, and you gotta hope that you can have this fortune of health throughout the rest of this regular season. Obviously, you'll have some guys that miss a game here or there, but if you can go through the rest of this regular season and into the playoffs healthy, I think you set up in a really, really good spot. We've seen, even with the injuries throughout the year, guys in and out of the lineup, the Grizzlies have been able to get in that 2 spot and maintain that spot. We talked about the Rockets, who were in the 2 spot, and then they lose to the Grizzlies, and since then they haven't been the same. They've dropped down to around the 5 seed right now. So the Grizzlies doing a really good job now, fully healthy. You got to think they'll only continue to keep that foot on the gas, and hopefully we look up after 28 games and talk about the 2 seed in the West, the Memphis Grizzlies.
That's my top story as well. Grizzlies in Indianapolis at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Small favorite, 15-12 in road games this year, the Grizzlies are. 1-0 against Indiana. 14-3 after a loss. And 11-3 in the last 14 heading into the break. Grizzlies winners of 6 out of 7 against Indiana, and as healthy as they've been in about 3 years. That's not exaggerating either. It's really true. Tonight starts the beginning of the end. Start with a 1-0, and then 27 left after tonight.
Yep.
Not top story of the day.
My not top story of the day is the Memphis Tigers. We're counting down the days till they return to action against FAU, but they did get good news this morning from the NCAA. The game against San Francisco that the NCAA had been viewing as a neutral site game had been moved to an away game. That meant that the win over San Francisco went from a quad 2 win to a quad 1, which will help the Tigers' resume. That now means Tigers 6-2 in quadrant 1 games, 4-1 in quadrant 2. You might be saying, well, I don't remember them having a quad 2 loss. Well, that's because overnight Wichita State moved up into the quad 2 category. They were a quad 3. We'd been talking about the Tigers 6-3 in quad 3 games, but now they've moved up to that quad 2 category. So now you only have 2 quad 3 losses. So Tigers, their net only goes up 1, but when you look at one spot, it is an improvement, though. It did go up, but the Tigers, some of those metrics, some of those things that the committee looks at, those have improved. So I thought a good night for the Tigers when they don't play. You have Missouri, who the Tigers beat at the beginning of the season, go out there and really, 110 points against Alabama. Really, really remarkable stuff from Dennis Gates and his squad. That certainly helps the Tigers. Also, just saw this about 20 minutes ago. Memphis basketball puts out throwing it back for Hall of Fame weekend and CDR's induction. Tickets will be thrown back to 2007-08 prices for this Sunday's game against Florida Atlantic. So cheaper tickets this weekend. Thanks, CDR.
Thank you, CDR, for really everything, including that great year. Tigers, the net is pretty grim right now for the Tigers.
Oh, yeah.
Now, all that changed, but what didn't change is the Tigers can't take 2 more losses anywhere against anybody. My not top story, from 1 versus 2 and all the acclaim that went with that last weekend, Alabama now losing 2 in a row and getting thumped last night at Mizzou. 0 defense played. And can the Nate Oates system, we'll ask Drew Darman this coming up in a few minutes. He covers Alabama basketball in the SEC very well. One of the few down in Alabama that covers both with the same passion. Yeah. He will tell you he loves one just as much as the other, football and basketball. But can you play no defense and just depend on, well, if we make threes, we'll win? Yeah. I don't think that's a strategy that's sustainable for 6 wins in March.
No, it's not the strategy I would want to take.
It never has
March.
been.
No.
Find me a team that won it all just trying to play like that.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it'd be hard to find. I think you had probably 0. I can't think of one.
You've got to guard somebody at some point, and you got to run stuff at some point, other than just threes and daggers.
Yeah, you definitely do, and you didn't see much of that for Alabama last night against Missouri. Well, that'll do it for top and not top story of the day. Let's go ahead and get to our first break. And when we come back, Brett already mentioned it. We're going to talk a lot of SEC basketball, Auburn and Alabama with Drew Darman. He joins us next.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
I'm so excited.
I had a feeling you'd be excited.
That doesn't even begin to describe how I feel about the new Central Barbecue location on Central.
Well, technically, it's the same location.
Same location, but a very different Central Barbecue on Central.
I get what you're saying, but I don't want to confuse people. The new Central Barbecue location on Central is the same place as the old Central Barbecue on Central.
But it's so much more. It's big, for one thing.
It is a whole lot bigger. Well, I think it has to be.
Because everybody in Memphis is going to be flocking to the new Central Barbecue location on Central.
Where the old Central Barbecue on Central used to be.
Details.
At Skechers, we put the S in comfort. Now, I know you're probably spelling comfort in your head and asking yourself, is that possible? Am I just a really bad speller? I don't know you're spelling altitude, but Skechers most definitely put the S in comfort. Because Skechers is the comfort technology company that has developed fits and features that change everything you know about comfort. Like hair-free Skechers slippers, the ultimate in comfort and convenience. It's footwear you can strap into and on with no bending down. Find Skechers at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
It's the Mitsubishi Motors Spring Sales Event at Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike. 2024 Mitsubishi Mirage. We Gossett $249 a month or buy for $18,410 gets 43 MPG. 2024 Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid PHEV compared to Mazda CX-90. Better range, better warranty, and we Gossett at $299 per month or buy for $42,900. Ready to upgrade your ride? Get 2024 Mitsubishi Outlander. $399 a month or buy for $29,460. Plus, get peace of mind with Mitsubishi's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Get to Gossett Mitsubishi today to start your year off right. 1870 Covington Pike and 24/7 at MemphisMitsubishi.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
MSRP 18410, PHEV RZO 59821, MSRP 489, Outlander RZO 67325, MSRP 33210, includes all rebates and incentives, PF 895, excludes tax title license, CD for complete details, offer valid through end of the month with approved credit dealer stock only.
Tiger Nation, Memphis men's basketball returns to FedEx Forum Sunday, February 23rd at 1 when the Tigers welcome FAU to the 901. It will be our Champions for Literacy and Fan Appreciation game, sponsored by International Paper. During the game, we'll recognize Tiger Nation for their tremendous support throughout the year with seat upgrades, prize giveaways, and more. It's time to stand up, Memphis, and cheer on your first-place Tigers. Be sure to get your tickets now at GoTigersGo.com.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises. Just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it. Because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. Despite a couple of EMS calls in the last 15-20 minutes, actually it's been pretty quiet out here on all the major outbound routes, especially for this time of the afternoon. We're still concerned about some of these back roads, side streets could still be very dangerous. So give yourself a little bit of extra time out here. Don't get too overconfident. Hey, if your yard needs some help this time of the year, it's okay. Lawn Solutions is here to help with 30 years experience. Call Lawn Solutions at 867-5626. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios, and joining us now to talk some SEC hoops, Drew DeArmond from 97.7 ESPN in Huntsville joins us now. Drew, thanks so much for joining us. What has it been like over these last couple of months to have two top 10 teams in the state of Alabama?
Well, it's been great. I mean, it's been I think it is probably a golden age of basketball. Matter of fact, I'm over here at the regionals at Jacksonville State with high school regionals, and I saw an unforgettable high school game today between two top 21 teams in the country. Number 4 Hoover beat number 21 Huntsville Heights 63-60, and it's kind of emblematic of what we've seen on the college hardcourt with Alabama and Auburn. I mean, just two heavyweights that have become powerhouses. Auburn, in my opinion, is the best team in America, and I don't think it's close right now. I think they've earned it. They've got, I guess, now with the win the other night over Arkansas, 15 quad one wins, and Alabama certainly didn't play well last night. They did not defend against Missouri, but Missouri is a top 15 team, and the top 9 in the SEC are as good as any conference I've ever seen. I mean, they're 7. They're going to fight it out. I think it's going to be an 11-bid league. I think it's just really going to be hard to get 12, and especially with 13. I think Vanderbilt right now would be a pick for me that is going to survive and find a way maybe into the big dance. I think they've got a good shot at doing that, but we'll see. But I think the league is just incredibly deep. And right now, someone like Kentucky, Mississippi State, somebody like that could end up playing on Wednesday because, there's going to be 4 games on Wednesday this year. You're talking about a top 20 team in the country that could end up playing an Ole Miss, somebody like that beat Alabama. So there's going to be a really, really good basketball team that's going to have to win 5 games in 5 days. So it's just as deep a league as I've ever seen.
Drew, you mentioned you're at Jacksonville State. It's not just Alabama and Auburn. Jacksonville State's on a lot of mock brackets. Sanford's on some. The state of Alabama could be well represented when the brackets revealed. You mentioned the 11 or 12 teams from the SEC. That's going to be fun for the league to put out that press release of how many get in the tournament. But how many can go to the Final Four?
Well, Brett, that's a great question. I think, in all honesty, I think Alabama. I think Auburn, of course, has the ability to win 6 in 6 days, in 6 games, 6 straight games. Pardon me. I think Auburn has a chance to win a national championship, a legit chance. I think they easily could win it all. I think they're that good. Certainly, I think Florida right now is probably maybe the hottest team in the SEC, considering what they did just about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, when they went to Neville Arena and beat an Auburn team that's almost unbeatable on that floor. Todd Golden, the last 2 years, has done yeoman's work. And it's interesting because both Florida and Auburn were very disappointing in the NCAA tournament last year when they were both kind of under the radar pick to go to the Final Four a year ago, but were very disappointing. Alabama went on that Cinderella run, but I think Auburn and Florida are the 2 best teams right now. I think they could definitely, have a chance to go to the Final Four and potentially cut the nets down. I do think with the right draw, and if Alabama can get out of their funk and figure out some defensive issues, I think they with the right draw they could go back to the Final Four. I think they're that talented, that good offensively. And then Tennessee, I think they're at least a Sweet 16 team, maybe Elite Eight. I don't know that they're good enough offensively to get to the Final Four, but I do think with the right draw they could potentially do that. And then I think two kind of under-the-radar teams, to me, that could make a run is Missouri. I was very, very impressed with them offensively last night and the way they shot the basketball in their perimeter game, in their guards. They were outstanding. And then Texas A&M, I've always been a Buzz Williams guy. The toughness they play with, their style is very difficult to prepare for. And I think with the right draw, Texas A&M could make a deep run as well.
Drew, our good friend Ryan Fowler in Tuscaloosa, he did it again. He has very provocative poll questions. And, any poll that scrolls through the X machine, I always vote on. And he had this simple question a little bit ago. Which program will win Alabama's next national championship? Alabama basketball or Alabama football? How would you vote, Drew?
Well, that's a great question. Ryan knows how to kind of, he knows how to get people thinking in the city of Tuscaloosa. There's no doubt about that, Brett. And, if I had to ask, if I had to ascertain and guess right now, I mean, I would probably say basketball just simply because SEC football is so deep. It's going to be very, very difficult. Now, if you get the right draw, certainly in football, we saw with Ohio State, they kind of underachieved during the regular season, but worked out all their kinks. They were the most talented. But again, I think basketball would probably be the best chance because right now the SEC in football is a shark tank. And here's the funny thing about the SEC in football, Brett, and I'm not just saying this because I'm on in Memphis, and I know you work for the Rebels in their pre- and post-game on the IMG Ole Miss radio network, but I actually thought the best team in the SEC this year, when they were right, when they were properly motivated, and when they were locked in, I thought Ole Miss had the best team. I mean, when they dismantled Georgia and Oxford, I just really thought that day they were the best team in the SEC, and I just think the loss to Kentucky kept them out. But I think if they could have gotten in the tournament, they would have been as dangerous as anyone. And so the SEC is going to be a very, very deep league, and it's going to be tough because we saw the battle of attrition. Georgia, to me, probably could have been a finalist if it hadn't been for Carson Beck's injury. So injuries in football is such a physical sport. When you're talking about having to play 15, 16, 17 games, it's very, very difficult to do. And as you know, NIL and the transfer portal robs you of your depth. And you don't have to you need 85 scholarship guys. Well, we think we may go up from here to go to 105, but you need a lot of talent to win a football national championship. Now, basketball, you need 13 players, and I think Nate Oates is recruiting at an elite level. I think he's risen that program to a level I haven't seen. Ryan had another intriguing poll question about is Nate Oates already the best basketball coach in the University of Alabama history, and you have CM Newton and Wimp Sanderson there. And Hayden Riley, who were outstanding coaches, but I would say Nate Oates has already, become that guy.
He's been to a Final Four, and the others didn't.
Right, exactly, and he did it with probably his third or fourth best team. I guess third would be the best play to say it because, I mean, I think his best team was the Brandon Miller group. Second was Herb Jones, and this one was probably his third best team. So Final Four runs are funny, but again, I do think Alabama's got a chance to win a national championship for the first time in my. Since the Wimp Sanderson days, I thought they had enough talent then. He could just never get over the hump in the tournament. But Nate Oates has already done that. And I think if you had to ask me, I think Alabama basketball would be before football. There's still some work to be done for Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned you think 11 teams get into the tournament from the SEC. I know Joe Lenardi released his updated bracketology a couple days ago, and he had 4 teams on the bubble from the SEC. It was Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt and Texas were in the last 4 byes, and then Oklahoma, Arkansas were in the last 4 in. Of those 4 teams, how do you view those 4 teams kind of as we get closer to the tournament?
Well, I think to me, I do like the Longhorns of Texas. I think they're a good enough defensive team, and then they have a guy like Trey Johnson who's going to be a lottery pick. So I think Texas to me has as compelling a case. And I think I mentioned it earlier when you guys started the conversation. I think Vanderbilt and Texas to me of those bottom 7, and I kind of put 9 teams in front of everybody else, and then that bottom 7. I think those 2 have the best chance. I think Arkansas may already have taken on too much water. Now, I know John Calipari, he coached in your city, and I know he coached at Kentucky for 15 years, and he won a title. I just don't think they shoot it well enough, and I'm just not sure that they're going to be able to be as consistent as they need to be. It's kind of funny. They've played their best basketball on the road because, as you guys know, they won at Texas, and then they won at Kentucky, which shocked everybody. And then they had a lead with 3 minutes plus to go yesterday in Neville Arena, but couldn't hold it. So I'm just not buying Arkansas. I don't think they can win enough games. I think they're going to end up. They could go to the NIT, or Coach Cal may skip it and just try to revamp his roster. But I just don't see Arkansas being able to get there. And then Georgia, Mike White's done a decent job there. Asa Newell is certainly probably a lottery pick, but they just don't shoot it well enough either. I saw Alabama play their C- game and beat them by 20 in Coleman Coliseum. I just don't think they're going to get enough wins. I just don't see that. And we already know that LSU and South Carolina are pretty much already done. So I think when you look at those teams and the ones that in the standings, I just think again that Vanderbilt, Texas, and Vanderbilt and Texas are probably the two that I think could be those 10th and 11th bids. And I really think we might see a coaching change at Oklahoma, because Porter Moser, he did a great job at Loyola Chicago with Sister Jean, went to a Final Four. But I don't think he's a fit at OU. It just doesn't seem like it's working. And to me, last weekend when they lost at home to LSU, that was probably the end for him. So it's going to be really interesting to see, where Oklahoma goes, because that's a good job with the right guy. But I've never felt like Porter Moser was a fit there. And now with as deep as this league is, that's probably, if we're going to see a coaching change, we'll see how LSU ends. Now, it sounds like Coach Matt McMahon is going to be back. We'll see. That's what they're saying right now. They're going to give him maybe one more year. And Lamont Paris got a huge contract and had a top 4 finish a year ago. And we've seen what Dennis Gates has done after a disaster second year. He's completely flipped it again. NIL and the transfer portal, you can flip things quickly. But right now, I just think you got that top 9, and I think Vanderbilt and Texas, if they're going to, I think they're the two teams that have positioned themselves the best in order to get an 11-bid league, which, as Brett mentioned, would be, Greg Sankey would have his chest puffed out. I know football didn't go the way he wanted it to, and we're probably going to talk about that. But I think basketball, at least pre-tournament, they're going to have the most bids, and then we'll see what they do with those bids and if they can get 2 teams to the Final Four or even more.
Yeah. Talking to Drew Darman, he joins us from 97.7 ESPN in Huntsville. You mentioned football. We know the SEC, a lot of meetings taking place right now between them and the Big Ten.
A lot of meetings.
A lot of meetings going around. What do you make of everything that has come out over the last couple of days?
Well, I just think it's the two leagues that have done the best job of marketing themselves, positioning themselves for big money contracts. The SEC is the best league, in my opinion. It's the highest level of competition. They take it the most serious. The SEC, again, the slogan they came up with years ago, it just means more. That's exactly what it does. If they lead in attendance every year, the money that they put toward, football and athletics just sets itself apart. Now, certainly, the Big Ten has some of the bigger, quote unquote, TV markets, and I know they'll tell you that they've won the last 2 national championships, Michigan and Ohio State. But when this happened the last time, which basically was in the 2013-2014 season, and they started feeling themselves a little bit, and other leagues did, the SEC came back with a sledgehammer and basically took over. And again, I'm not going to overreact in the first year of the playoffs. Certainly, the SEC didn't have the success that they wanted. I think injuries had a lot to do with that. I think a poor selection process had a lot to do with that, and I think that's why, the SEC and the Big Ten are getting together. They want this thing to be reviewed. Again, I just think that overall, the Big Ten was kind of handed the championship on a silver platter in many ways. So I think that's what they're going to try to do. They're going to, if they can, try to get 4 guaranteed bids. I felt like they deserved them. I know that, Ole Miss had the loss to Kentucky. Alabama did not finish the way they wanted to, especially with that loss to Oklahoma. But I think everybody who watched SEC play realizes that they would have, if they played any of those 3, South Carolina, Alabama, or Ole Miss, they would have lost by 30. And no disrespect, I think, Rhett Lashley's done a remarkable job there, and maybe the next coach at Auburn. if Hugh Freeze doesn't turn around. But again, I just think when you look at it, the SEC still had a very, very strong league, and Greg Sankey and the powers that be in the league are going to try to position themselves strongly for this newly expanded playoff, whether it be 14 or 16 teams. And I still think in the long run, with this expanded playoff, the SEC will flex even more than the Big Ten. And the Big Ten, they didn't partner with the SEC back during the COVID pandemic, and they will regret it, and they don't want to make the same mistake again.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Drew, it's been a lot of fun catching up with you. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll do it again soon.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Brett. Love you guys. Appreciate you for hanging with me as we're on our way back to the Rocket City. But thank you. I always enjoy coming on WHBQ and talking some ball with you. Great city, great people over there, and thank you for featuring.
Thanks,
Thank
Drew.
you. Thank you very much. Drew Darman with us from down in Huntsville. He's on the bus back after covering high school basketball this afternoon, and we appreciate it. And Drew, Brian, let me be clear on whether it's 14 or 16. I go back to where I've been from the beginning. I don't know how wild I am about AQ, automatic qualifying spots. Here's what I want. I want 14 or 16 at larges.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, give me.
And I've been there from the beginning,
That's right.
whether 2 or 4 or 8 or who do we appreciate? I mean, whatever it is, and if the lion's share of those teams come from the Big Sky Conference, fine.
Yeah,
I know it won't. I know where it'll come from.
That's right. I mean, give me the best teams. I mean, if we're gonna choose a champion from this, give me the best 14, 16, whatever it might be teams. And, we always talk about, well, this is a television show at the end of the day. If you give me the best 14, best 16 teams in the country, it's going to be a good product. It's going to be those brands you want to see.
And the people who know it.
Exactly.
The public knows it. And for people worried about the Tigers and Group of 5 conferences, most of those years, that better team, and maybe even 2, would be in 16. It may not be in 14, and it wouldn't. And although it was pretty close last year with 12.
It was. I mean, we were having the conversations, and really before Memphis beat Tulane on the road, there was a conversation of having both of 2 Group of 5 teams in because they'd be 2 of the highest champions. So, you're right. If you have that, then there's a good chance that if that Group of 5 team goes out there and has that big-time season, there's a good opportunity they'll be in that mix.
I want the best. I want meritocracy.
Yeah.
And 1 through 14 or 1 through 16, if you have a bunch of rematches of regular season games, then that's how it falls. I know this cold weather, we're trying to power through it, and a good place to warm up is Jason's Deli with all those soups they have on the menu. My favorite, the Texas-style chili, the chicken noodle, broccoli cheese, organic vegetable, tomato basil, the spicy seafood gumbo. That sounds great for dinner tonight or for any event that you're having. Whatever event you're having, no matter 5 or 5,000, Jason Deli can have you taken care of. Wholesome food forever. It's a family thing, whether you're dining in, getting it to go, or having it delivered. Low delivery fees when you have it delivered. Same day and last minute orders welcomed. That's really when they excel. A lot of people from their big game party certainly had a great time with everything from Jason's Deli. Healthy, first franchise in the nation to be trans fat free. We're hearing so much about let's eat right and get healthy. Jason's Deli's been on that kick since they opened the door. Jason's Deli's all about choice, regardless if you seek a gluten-free menu, vegetarian sandwiches, healthy kids meals, or if you'd like to invent your sandwich via the Build Your Own, you would be delighted at Jason's Deli. The great locations, I promise you, one near you, over across from MUS in Park Place, off of Ridgeway, by the University of Memphis at Poplar and Highland, down in Olive Branch, and out in Cordova. Catering anytime, anywhere, in all those locations. You can count on that great salad bar with over 30 items to choose from for you to prepare it however you would like. Plenty of organic food to choose from as well. Ordering the salads off the menu, like the Mesa chicken salad, the nutty mixed up salad, and my favorite, the taco salad. All those locations, also, you can wrap it up with a complimentary free ice cream. Over by MUS on Ridgeway Road, by the University of Memphis at Poplar and Highland, down in Olive Branch, out in Cordova. And you can always check out Jason's Deli online at jasonsdeli.com.
Let's go ahead and get to another break, and when we return, we've got to talk about the Grizzlies. They're back in action tonight on the road against the Pacers. We'll talk about that next on Sports Time.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Sports 56 and 95 FM.
Shopping with your parents can be embarrassing.
Why would they sell jeans with holes in them? I'm going to speak to the manager.
Mom!
Everything is giving. You should get it. YOLO.
Thanks to the Chase mobile app, your kid can shop independently while you keep an eye on their spending. So you can go from
We can be twinsies
to
more shopping. Saw you stayed on budget.
thanks, Mom. Freedom for kids, control for parents. That's family banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. member FDIC.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises. Just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises. Now, back to Sports Time. Sports 56. This hour is brought to you by Lexus Tires. Here are your hosts, Star Sports Movie and Brian Gates.
Well, All-Star break is officially behind us. One NBA game last night. It was the Lakers and the Charlotte Hornets. But tonight, the Memphis Grizzlies get back to action. A game against the Indiana Pacers. We've talked about it a lot, but the way that the schedule breaks for the Grizzlies back from the All-Star break, 3 road games against 3 Eastern Conference teams. It'll be tonight against the Pacers, tomorrow night on the road against the Magic, and then Sunday night an ESPN game on the road against the Cleveland Cavaliers. But tonight for the Grizzlies, coming out of this break fully healthy, but going up against a talented Pacers team that enter this game 30-23, 14-8 at home. Right now, Grizzlies a 2.5-point favorite on the road.
Big physical team that is kind of the template for the team that might give the Grizzlies some trouble.
Yeah, and I think that is that's going to be the big thing to watch tonight because, like you said, they've got a lot of length. They're a physical team. They physicality doesn't bother them, and we've heard the Grizzlies themselves have said we struggle against teams that are physical, and so it'll be a good test tonight to see how Indiana stacks up against them. And it's a team that's really good defensively in Indiana, a top 10 defense in the NBA.
Yeah, and Tyrese Halliburton, star or superstar?
I'd say star right now. I don't think he's reached superstar just quite yet, but really good player. I mean, I love watching him play.
A little more time, a little more playoff success.
I think so, and
kind of a magic playoff moment.
Yeah, and he's kind of lost out there in Indiana. Just doesn't get that superstar treatment with all of the nationally televised games and everything that we see. So yeah, I'd just call him a star.
It was so smart by Indiana to go out and lock up Rick Carlisle.
Yeah.
The second the Mavs let him go, they seized.
Yeah, no, he's a he's a great coach, and so to be able
Champion.
to get him and to lock him up, and a fairly young team that Indiana has, to be able to kind of build this with them.
Did we associate most of his success in Dallas? Did we give Dirk most of the credit and him not enough during it, and now we appreciate him a little more?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that happens a lot when you have great players like that. When you have Hall of Famers, it's very easy to look and say, "Hey, man, Dirk is an incredible player," and just kind of say that's it. He's the reason. But yeah, I think a lot of it was probably giving credit to Dirk.
Yeah, and he was a lot. He deserved a lot of it. A lot of those plays Rick Carlisle dialed up was for him to run.
Absolutely, no, you're not going to take anything away from from him because he is
4 seeds about as good as Indiana can do, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels like they're going to be right there in the middle of
1,
the
2, 3 settled. It might be some jockeying of teams, but Cleveland, Boston, New York will sort out 1, 2, and 3, and look out for Milwaukee.
Yeah, no, I mean Milwaukee. They are a team that I remember playing them early in the season, and everyone saying what's happening with Milwaukee. It feels like they have all the pieces that they need, and just it has not worked out. But now they look from where we're at now to where we were at then. They've completely turned it around, and now obviously this Bobby Portis thing. That could do something. I don't know how much it would really do, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on with him getting a 25-game suspension and a lot of outrage about that 25-game suspension for the painkillers that everyone says is like the weakest painkillers you can give somebody. But hey, NBA says 25 games, and that's what he's going to get.
I had never heard of Tramadol. I'd heard of Toradol.
Sure.
Most of sports on Toradol.
Yeah, I mean, and I all of that medicine and painkillers and everything. I'm no doctor by any means. No. It's a different world from me, so I rely on other people. I know John came in today and put on his doctor hat and was complaining
certified
about
expert.
I mean, he is, and he was saying it's basically taking just a better Tylenol, and I was going, well, I mean, I don't know, but I've seen a couple of ER doctors and nurses on social media saying that it's something that they give out to everybody, and that's crazy to them that Bobby Portis got that 25-game suspension.
I think John's right. I mean, it's mostly an aspirin.
Exactly.
Or it's dispensed as widely as one. Maybe I don't know what it does on the back end.
Sure.
You can't imagine to liver and kidney function. It's great.
Probably not, but that's stuff you worry about on the back end, right?
It is.
Don't worry about it now. I know I had a buddy one time when I had a cold or something, and I was popping all sorts of Dayquil, NyQuil, everything, and I was I like to go a couple of days after, and he goes, that's not great for you. You probably shouldn't be taking that as much. I go, I'm not worried about that right now. I'm sick right now. I'll worry about that if it ever gets to that point. I'll worry about it then. I'm not worried about it right now when I'm sick as a dog. I just want to get better. But tonight will be fun to see this
is
Grizzlies
gettable
team.
Tonight, though.
Very gettable. I think a really good opportunity for the Grizzlies. Yeah, I mean, that's right. You're favored on the road, so a good opportunity. And I think we talk about it before the All-Star break. Those rookies hitting that rookie wall. How do they look tonight? With a little bit of rest for them. Obviously, they were out at All-Star weekend. But what do those rookies look like tonight against Indiana? We shall see. Early tip time, 6 o'clock tip-off on the road for the Grizzlies. Well, we need to wrap up this hour and get to another break. When we return, we're going to talk NBA with Keith Smith.
7 heat indexes. Do you have what it takes to turn the heat of your wings up to insanity? East Coast Wings and Grill is family-friendly with a large variety menu to satisfy the whole bunch. Sign up today for their loyalty program and taste the rewards. For every dollar you spend, you collect a point. Earn 100 points and receive a $5 reward. Next to Lowe's on Highway 64 in Marlin, come try America's best wings at East Coast Wings and Grill.
Texting enrolls you into reoccurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while. Yeah, I've really fallen off since I turned 40. I just don't get the results I used to get. Lower testosterone. Lower T. Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once I hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. And that eugenics total T has made a huge difference for me. I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real? Yeah. The key ingredient is something called testosterone, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels and help you trim up and stay lean. And it's made a difference for you. And I feel like I'm in my 20s again. I work in the gym and I mean, still wouldn't have come to $1 for people to try for themselves. You just need to send a text.
Text BICEP to 321321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermal, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text BICEP to 321321. That's BICEP to 321321.
All 650 acquisition fee, 20,000 miles per year, 20 cents excess mileage. Pay for SEO 233118, MSRP 25320, Telluride SG 596,204, MSRP 41,060, Sportage S719 2005, MSRP 30,660. Includes all rebates and incentives. Must finance through KFA. Excludes tax filing license 895 PF with approved credit. Dealer stock only. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 3/2/2025.
It's the Kia President's Day sales event on now at Gossett Kia Southbound Mariah. Hey, what's up, Jeff Allen?
Randy, I've got a 2025 Kia K4 LXS for less than $5 a day at $159 a month with class-leading torque and fuel efficiency. 2025 Kia Telluride S front-wheel drive with more power, larger cargo area, and more ground clearance than a Nissan Pathfinder. $398 a month. Plus a 2025 Sportage EX, better overall customer rating than a Toyota RAV4 and longer warranty per Edmunds.com at $279 a month.
All $49.99 to a signing, 24 month lease. Plus, get a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty.
So whether you live in Horn Lake, South Haven, Olive Branch, or Memphis, you'll be happy at Gossett Kia on Mount Moriah.
Listen each and every Sunday morning at 11 to join Ottawa Presbyterian Church for worship. Ottawa is a PCUSA church in downtown Memphis. Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. A couple of EMS calls in the last few minutes. We're still really concerned about some of these back road side streets. It hadn't thawed out completely, so be careful this afternoon. It's trying to build certain sections of Sam Cooper going outbound. Still looks good over here right now. 40 east from Warford, Hollywood, all the way over to Covington Pike. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry, conveniently located 7525 Highway 64 is your full service, family-owned jewelry store right here in Memphis. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis, with Dave Woloshin, weekday mornings from 10 to 11. Time to talk NBA with Keith Smith from Spot Rack and the Front Office Show, and on Twitter X at Keith Smith NBA. Here's Keith Smith talking basketball with Bryant and Brett.
Keith Smith joins us now from Spot Track and the Front Office Show to talk the NBA. A lot to get to, Keith, but let's start very briefly on All-Star Weekend, what we saw. I think a lot of people were wondering what the new format would look like. How much of All-Star Weekend did you watch, and what did you think of the new format?
Yeah, I watched a lot more of it than I probably should have, which is to say all of it. The format of the games itself, I thought were good. I was pretty convinced going in that the Rising Stars team versus the voted in All Stars was going to be competitive because none of those guys want to lose to the up and coming guys. Mm-hmm. And that game was pretty good. And then I thought we had the other games were fairly competitive. The long pauses between the games were rough, and then that extremely long pause in the final was really hard on the players, and the players themselves said that they, didn't feel like they could go back out there and open it back up and go hard because they didn't have any warm-up time after sitting for about 20-some-odd minutes. There's been the stat floating around that it was 3+ hours with like 20-some-odd minutes of game time. Like, that's not okay. Like, that, if you're going to make the game the thing, let's make the game the thing. Let's focus on that instead of all the other stuff around it.
Can it be saved?
I don't know. I like I said, I think that little mini tournament format was okay. I think maybe they could do some other things like that with slight tweaks. There's been talk of if you're going to break them up into teams, could you have a world team and a U.S. team and a Canada team and a rookie team? Maybe you could do something like that. That I think could be a lot of fun, and I think maybe that would get the juices going a little bit there. But yeah, I mean, the main thing for me becomes, if your main TV partners are going to sit there and tell you this is garbage, you shouldn't be watching this shouldn't be here, well, guess what a lot of people are going to do? They're going to turn it off and go watch something else. And that repeatedly happened. You had Draymond Green on the TNT set just calling it all out as all being horrible, and then you had Kevin Hart with a microphone who was, in the arena and on TV saying, all these three-pointers and all the, same tired arguments that people have brought up. Like, the NBA walked right into that. Again, if you want to showcase the great things about the game, have the people who love the game out there. Have, and make it, again, about the players. We didn't need all of the, stoppages and these long, delays and everything else that went along with it. Let's, really showcase the game, get in, get out, and have a little bit of fun.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And, I mean, well, what did they expect happen? They invite a comedian to the thing, and you have a product that everyone is talking about how bad it is. And, of course, he's going to come with jokes. It was just it was kind of a mess on that front, and kind of disappointing to see the NBA, like you said, an opportunity for them to, show the product and praise all of the great stars of it, and you've got guys on microphones blasting it. It was weird. Well, now we're back to action, and obviously here locally, everyone excited for the Grizzlies to get back to action. The way the schedule broke, 3 straight road games against Eastern Conference opponents for the Grizzlies. It starts tonight against Indiana. What do you want to see from this Grizzlies team over these last 28 games?
I want to see them, stay relatively healthy first and foremost, and then let's see them start to mesh into what their playoff rotations are going to look like. I think we've got hints of what that may look like, but I think now we can really go. It's, not to say anything ill of Marcus Smart, but he's not in the picture now. Now you're not going to be working him back in at all, the rest of the way. You can kind of move forward. These are our guys. These are our 8-9 kind of core guys that when we cut the rotation down in the playoffs, these guys will be in there. They're going to be a part of it. Here's our, 10th, 11th, 12th guys. If we need to go to them, they're going to be ready to go, and they're our stay-ready group. And that's what you're looking to see develop here. And then as far as the standings go, I wouldn't put too much into trying to run down Oklahoma City. That's probably not going to happen, but you got to keep an eye on Denver. You got to keep winning. You do not want to have to go play Game 7 in the second round in Denver. If you can avoid it, try to stay out in front of them and make them come to you if it comes down to that.
Any seed that's a 2, 3, or 4, that's a big win for the Grizzlies, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think at this point, we should really be thinking 2 is really where where you want to be, and 3 or 4 that's not bad, but let's try to think a little bit better. Let's try to push a little harder and get up to the top, because I think if you're Memphis, you got to feel like, hey, all right, we're back to where we were a couple years ago. Last year, everything went wrong that could go wrong. 30-plus guys played for the team. It is what it is, but now we're back. We're here. We're contenders, and we're ready to take that step forward. And then I think what you start thinking about is, hey, Minnesota, Dallas, why not us? Why can't that be us this year? If the Thunder stumble again, why can't we be the team that's pushing and trying to get to the NBA Finals? So I think you're in a spot, if you're Memphis, you want to start thinking, but don't, it's not, I don't know that it's so important to be 2 that you're going to be like, hey, I need, players X, Y, and Z to play through injuries and the like. You kind of, I think, reset there a little bit, but, try to make sure you stay up in the home court advantage without a doubt.
Keith, I said yesterday we had Gary Darby from the Memphis Grizzlies radio network on with us, and I said I think the West is getting ready to just really devour each other and make it 4-1 for the East, whoever from the East, when we get to NBA Finals time. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, it's certainly possible. I mean, the West is so deep. You're going to have teams not even get into the playoffs that are pretty good teams that would probably, be, at least semi-challengers in the Eastern Conference, and they're going to be, going home. Like, I think about the Oklahoma City Thunder. We're looking at a very real world where they may look up after an incredible regular season, maybe even historically great regular season. They're going to look across the court and be like, we got Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green, like, okay, and then you get through that, and then in the second round, we got to deal with LeBron James and Luka Doncic, and you start to wonder, hey, what was all this, for there? But, they're very good. Denver's really good. I think Memphis is good. I think Houston, we're seeing now kind of reality's clicking in a little bit with them, but both L.A. teams are going to be tough, and then you get down into Minnesota, and if Dallas can figure out their big man rotation, good news on Anthony Davis today that, maybe he's not going to be out, for the rest of the way, and he'll be a couple weeks. We'll get an update, and maybe a couple weeks after that, he'll be back. And so we're in a spot really where I think these teams are deep, they're tough. But you're absolutely right; they're going to beat each other up, and I don't think we're going to get through a lot of 4-0, 5 or 4-1, 5-game type series in the West where teams are kind of coasting through and resting up, and that makes it tough to have enough left in reserve by the time you get to the final.
Mm-hmm. The Grizzlies, it feels like the biggest problem for them right now is all of the turnovers. Right now, 28th in the NBA in turnover percentage, and you look at the two teams behind them, Portland, who's going nowhere, and Utah, who's going nowhere. It feels like if they can clean that up a little bit, it will be a lot easier for them to remain in that second seed. What do you make of the turnover issues for the Grizzlies?
Yeah, that's a great call out. I think what happens is they'll try a little too often to make the highlight play instead of keeping things a little bit simple. We see that, kind of, I know a lot of people are going to want to put that on John Morant, but that's a Jaren Jackson Jr. thing. I think Desmond Bane at times has been caught in that. I think even the bigs will get a little, out of it with their passing sometimes. And then you got to remember, too, they're still playing a lot of younger guys.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Wells and Zach Edey, for the fact that starting two rookies in a rookie class that everybody was kind of like, yeah, this rookie class was not very good. They got two starters out of it, and they're one of the top teams in the league. Like, that's pretty impressive stuff. So, yeah, if you could clean that up, that would help them with some of the long offensive lulls that they can go through. There's a lot of games where it feels like, all right, they're maybe a few minutes away from putting this game away, and then they get real sloppy with the ball, and next thing you know, you're in a game that you could have had put away the other way, and now you're going to have to play it all the way out. So I think they've cleaned up the shooting issues quite a bit this year. Now it's, let's take care of the ball, let's defend, let's, get to it, because in the playoffs, all those turnovers, they're going to kill you. You got to really value the possession once you get into the postseason.
We know to date that the team MVP has been Jaren Jackson. For this next 28 games, who needs to be the MVP of the Grizzlies?
That's a good question. Probably John Morant, just because that's going to give you, feeling good that when you walk in to a postseason matchup, you've got kind of the star power. You've got the guy who's going to go create something out of nothing. So a guy who can really make it happen on the night when nobody else can make a shot and you just don't have it going. He's going to be the one to step up. But I think, I would like to see Desmond Bane get going again, get back to being the guy he was a couple years ago. It just feels like he's the one player who hasn't fully kind of regained his form from what we got used to with him. So, but yeah, and then of course let's see Jaren Jackson Jr. continue to do what he's done. I think with the unfortunate news with Victor Wembanyama, that's going to be another candidate for All NBA and maybe even Defensive Player of the Year out of the mix. You might have Jaren Jackson Jr. bringing home some hardware, which we've talked about in the past. That's going to have long-term ramifications for the Grizzlies as well. That opens up all kinds of contract opportunities.
Yeah, that opens up, it triggers big money. The answer to that question I just asked, Keith, isn't it always the guys with the ball in their hands the most?
Yeah, it's funny. It feels like it's that way in all sports, right? In baseball, it's your starting pitcher. In football, it's your quarterback. And then in the NBA, it's your playmakers. Now, in the NBA, it used to be your point guards, but we know that's not really how the game is played. But it's the guys who are going to have the ball the most. They're going to be the ones that are going to control the pace of the game. They're going to get it played the way they want. I always think about, Chris Paul, even at this point in his career, what's always made him so special, the game is for almost since he was a rookie, has been played at whatever pace he wants it played at. If it's we're going to go fast, it's going to be played fast. If it's we're going to slow it down and walk it up, we're going to slow it down and walk it up. And that's where I think a guy like John Morant can really go big places where it could be, all right, hey, control the game now, right? You're the best player on the floor. Make it played at the way you want it played versus, make everybody adjust to you. Don't adjust to them.
Keith, you mentioned the injury to Victor Wembanyama. He's going to miss the remainder of the season with blood clots in his arm. What do you make of this injury and the diagnosis that we're hearing about Victor?
Yeah, first and foremost, thank God they caught it early, right?
Yeah.
Like this is scary. Like people die from these things, and this is something where it quite frankly it made me very disheartened to see the number of people who immediately went to, oh man, my betting slips are ruined, and other off the wall conspiracy type nonsense that I'm not going to address here. That just kind of says a lot about where people are. But thank God they caught it early. All indications are from all things we're hearing is they think this is a one-time thing, that they're going to get it corrected. Everybody keeps going to Chris Bosh and how this ended his career. But I think the real comp is Brandon Ingram here. As more has come out, Brandon Ingram had this. They got it corrected. He missed a chunk of time, but then when he came back, he's had other injury issues, but never had a recurrence of this. And that is where we hopefully it lands with Victor Wembanyama, because this guy, I mean, we saw it this year, and we saw at All-Star. He was one of the guys that went out there and went hard and was like, I'm trying to win this thing. He is a special, special player. Special talent on the NBA level, on the international level, the national team level. Like let's get him healthy and get him back, because we all win as basketball fans with him out there doing his thing.
Keith, well said. And after the All-Star game, because he was so involved, do you think it was an examination, or did he alert them to something?
Yeah, from a couple of the stories I've read, it sounds like when he got back to San Antonio, he had kind of said, something's been bugging me for a little bit. And where, even without going to this level, he's their guy, right? That's their franchise guy. And if he says something's bugging him, they're going to put him through, the battery of tests that they need to really look at it. And it, thankfully what they found was, you wish it wasn't this, but thankfully they found it, and, they're going to be able to get it corrected and get him moving in the right direction here. But yeah, that's what it sounds like. Was when he got back, it was my shoulder, arm's been bugging me a little bit, and they were able to look at it and figure out what it was. So that's at least good news from that side, that he spoke up and wasn't, hey, let me try to play through this and see what it can be. This is why these guys speak up if something's bugging you, because we want to get a handle and get it taken care of.
Yeah, that's incredible, and definitely glad that he said something, because you're right. You're glad that they caught this early. The other big news today, Bobby Portis suspended 25 games for violating the league's anti-drug policy. It was tramadol, however you say the word. I don't know medicine. I'm no doctor. What do you make of this? I've heard a lot of people talking about it, saying that this is really nothing, that this is, one of the hosts on an earlier show today said this is like, taking an ibuprofen that's a little juiced up. What do you make of Bobby Portis getting the 25-game suspension?
Yeah, much to my mom's chagrin, I'm talking to y'all and not performing surgery somewhere as a doctor, right? So it's, I don't know enough about the
Keith, her disappointment was to our benefit, though.
That's right.
Yeah, right. And quite frankly, I'd rather be doing this than performing surgery myself. So, but yeah, I've read a couple things that I know a couple other sports have banned tramadol, because it's been seen as maybe a performance enhancer. With some things, but I don't know. All I know is it's banned, and the NBA, their banned substances policy is pretty clear, and it's 25 games. John Collins got a 25-game suspension for taking a banned substance. Previously, there's been other players in the past similar punishment, so it's kind of cut and dry. And it sounds like the Bucks and Bobby Portis and his representation are like, we wish there could have been a little bit of leeway here, but, all right, it is what it is. As far as, where I'm more focused, all right, that is what it is. Then if you look on court, they're in trouble. They don't have a lot of depth in their front court. It's kind of Giannis and Brook Lopez, and then some small ball options, guys like Kyle Kuzma, and then a handful of, very untested guys like Tyler Smith and Liam Robbins and Jericho Sims. So, they've got an open spot that was presumed to be going to Ryan Rollins, who's been their backup point guard on a two-way contract and played well. So it seems like he's going to get one. But then once Portis has been out for 5 games, they can transfer him to suspended list and sign another player. And my guess is, they're going to bring in another big. Now, the options, they're not great. I listed them out on my social media. If people want to go look at it there, I don't think anybody's jumping up and down for any of those options. But it's they're going to have to do something because they need to get in somebody else that they can play at least for the next month and a half worth of games here to get through. He'll return. I believe they have 29 games left. 4 games left. He'll be able to get back out there, and let's see where it goes, because then he'll be trying to get himself back into rhythm, back into full playing shape and everything else. So it's going to be tough for them to sort through.
Yeah. When you look at these teams coming out of the All-Star break, who is a team or a couple of teams that really need a good start out of the All-Star break to get themselves in good position for the playoffs?
Yeah, I think the easy ones are, anybody from like 5 through 11 in the West.
Yeah.
You got to play well, because if you stumble and have a bad couple weeks, you might find yourself completely out of the picture now, or you're going to be down in the going on the road in the play-in tournament portion if you can't figure that out. So that's going to be tough, for those teams. And there's a lot of good teams in that group. You got both LA teams. You've got Minnesota. You got Dallas. You got Phoenix. These are good, solid teams. Not to mention Golden State as well is in that mix. So they're going to have to figure all that stuff out, and you can't avoid it. In the Eastern Conference, I think it's Orlando. You're coming back mostly healthy. Jalen Suggs still not ready, but the Magic have a very easy closing schedule. Let's see if they can get back to the team that we were talking about in the first month of the season. Like, how are they doing this with all these injuries? Let's see if they can get back. And then Indiana, can they keep putting pressure on New York? Can they stay? Get out in front of get out in front of Milwaukee. Try to get that 4th seed. Try to get into the home court advantage round into the team we liked last year, kind of coming into the postseason, where it's like, all right, maybe we'll see. They could do a little something. They turned that into an Eastern Conference Finals run.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch these teams as they return. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight. Last thing for you, Keith. Obviously, you're very well connected with the Boston sports scene and kind of know that well. Tonight, a big hockey game in Boston. How do you think the U.S. fans, how do you think they treat the Canadians tonight?
Grade the behavior.
Yeah, I'm sure, my fellow Bostonians will be nothing but polite and kind and welcoming, because they always are to everybody. No, they're going to get treated like they came from New York instead of Canada. I mean, they're going to hear it, and it was very funny that you had that contrast between the NBA All-Star game, where everybody's dumping on it, and the hockey game where seconds in we're dropping the gloves and fighting and everything else. But I think what people are missing there is the NBA All-Stars don't hate each other. There's not a rivalry that is built over decades here, not to mention a whole lot of geopolitical stuff going on, that's fueling the crowd and everything else. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch that. I'm not a big hockey guy, but, if there's break in the basketball action, I may take a peek over once in a while.
And Keith, I've asked Bryant, and it's mostly rhetorical because not many right or wrong answers, but how are these players that have been so bellicose, how are they going to return back to their NHL locker room clubhouses in a few days and go, hey, guys, we're all still good teammates, aren't we?
Yeah, what's funny is I asked a buddy of mine that same question who covers the NHL, and his response was, he goes, it's hockey. Like, that's just, they're just a little different. They're all a little different. Like, and his answer was, they'll probably be fine. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, we went at it, and I might have knocked a tooth out. Sorry about that. But, that's all what comes with it.
Yeah, what's a couple chipped teeth? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah,
that's it.
Hockey, they are a different breed, and they are very loyal no matter if it's their team or their country. Loyalty is everything to them. Well, Keith, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll do it again next week.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, Keith.
Thank you. Keith Smith with us from Spot Track in the front office show, and NBA back full steam ahead tonight. Breaking news during that segment, a retirement from the NFL from your Dallas Cowboys, Brian.
Yeah, Zach Martin calling it quits,
Expected, unexpected?
I mean, I think it was kind of the unknown this year of what he would do. He's been dealing with injuries and his
a lot of stuff.
He's getting older, and so it doesn't surprise me. You hate to see it.
First ballot Hall of Famer?
I think so. I mean, he
sure was on his way.
Yeah, for sure. I think, if he's not a first ballot, he's certainly, I think, going to get in. But that's a big loss, and we'll see. Obviously, now you'll have some questions to answer on that offensive line.
Wasn't he the player? Wasn't he the player that, if left to his own devices, and Jerry Jones had drafted Johnny Manziel, wasn't it getting Zach Martin instead?
That's right. Yeah. I believe that's right. Yeah. So, I'm happy with the decision. I love Johnny Football, but I think it worked.
Johnny
out.
Football wasn't going to the Hall of Fame.
No chance.
He was not. That was a really sound draft pick by
sure was.
The people that know what they're doing with the Cowboys.
They know exactly what they're doing.
Unlike the one that thinks he knows what he's doing with the Cowboys.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
The new Silverado deal of the year, maybe the decade, is at All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch, where all the Silverados are. Yeah, you can get financing down to 2.9, plus make no payments for 90 days on any Silverado. For any Blazer, any better, even better. 1.9 financing, no payments for 90 days. It's still the month of love, so come get a Blazer or a new Silverado at All-Star Chevrolet. First exit down Highway 78 when you cross into Mississippi. Be looking for Kraft Goodman Road, and there you are. You will love no payments till May. Your good credit deserves it, and you'll get it at All-Star. And if you're law enforcement, recent grad, military, educator, first responder, healthcare worker, instant $500 bonus back immediately. If you're looking for a certified Silverado, Suburban, or Tahoe, they have them all at All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch. Every pre-owned you can imagine. Hyundais, Fords. That's two different cars, Hyundais and Hyundais. Fords and dozens of Silverados. If you have any vehicle you want to sell, bring it to All-Star in Olive Branch, and you can get the most money back for it instantly, whether you bought it there or not. Together, let's drive to All-Star Chevrolet and see Drew DePriest and his great team down Highway 78, or go to allstarautogroup.com for more information.
Well, let's go ahead and get to another break. When we return, we'll head out to Vegas, talk some wagering with our friend Doug Kazarian.
You can get the best of both at Los Cabos Mexican Bar and Grill on Summer near Graham. Watch all the big games on all the TVs on all the walls at Los Cabos. And enjoy premium tequila shots anytime for just $5.50. Celebrate every day with lunch specials from 10 to 3 and happy hour from 3 to 8. Lunch is just $6.75 to $10.99 and margaritas start at $4.99. Experience real Mexican cuisine along with great sports at Los Cabos on Summer near Graham. At Skechers, we put the S in comfort. Now, I know you're probably spelling comfort in your head and asking yourself, is that possible? Am I just a really bad speller? I don't know you're spelling out to do it, but Skechers most definitely put the S in comfort. Because Skechers is the comfort technology company that has developed fits and features that change everything you know about comfort. Like hair-free Skechers slip-ins, the ultimate in comfort and convenience. It's full wear you can step into and around with no bending down. Find Skechers at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
It's your time to upgrade into a new ride from Gossett Volkswagen on the Pike. 2025 Jetta S, buy it now, $20,499. 2024 Tahoe SE, $249 a month or $28,616. More front and rear headroom and longer warranty than Crosstrek or CX-30. 2024 Tiguan S, more cargo space, torque, and warranty than Escape or RAV4. Only $279 a month. Plus all 2024 Atlas SE LP conditions, $5,000 off MSRP. So get to Gossett Volkswagen today, 1875 Covington Pike, online, GossettVWMemphis.com. And remember, no reasonable offer will be refused. Gossett's where we're charging forward and charging less every day.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Volkswagen.
7,500 miles, 3,100 down. Taos, RMO 56,983, MSRP 31,939. Tiguan, RM 144,331, MSRP 31,363. Jetta, SMO 45,444. Atlas 3,500 bonus customer cash 1,500. Includes all rebates and incentives. PF 895 excludes tax title and license. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through end of the month with approved credit. Dealer stock only.
Tiger Nation, Memphis men's basketball returns to FedEx Forum Sunday, February 23rd at 1 when the Tigers welcome FAU to the 901. It will be our Champions for Literacy and Fan Appreciation Game, sponsored by International Paper. During the game, we'll recognize Tiger Nation for their tremendous support throughout the year with seat upgrades, prize giveaways, and more. It's time to stand up, Memphis, and cheer on your first-place Tigers. Be sure to get your tickets now at GoTigersGo.com.
Attention homeowners, it's time to score big with Choate's air conditioning, heating, plumbing, and generators. For the first 50 callers who purchase a new carrier system, generator, or tankless water heater, choose between 60 months of no interest financing or free air duct cleaning, a $500 value. Plus, don't miss our $39 February deals. Choose from a furnace tune-up, a sewer inspection, or an electrical panel inspection. It's the perfect way to prepare your home for the season. But hurry, this winning deal ends February 28th. Don't fumble this opportunity to claim these amazing offers. Call Choates today at 347-8086. And remember, Choates, let our family serve your family.
Good afternoon, and finishing up a couple of wrecks we had earlier. Watching it build now on some of the major outbound routes. 240 still looks good eastbound here at Mill Branch, all the way out to 385 as you continue out towards Bill Morris Parkway. There's still some dangerous driving conditions on some of these back roads and side streets, so please be careful. Weimer's Jewelry, serving the Memphis area for over 40 years? No matter what the occasion is, you'll save a lot of money by shopping local at Weimer's Jewelry out there on Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you, and we got to go out to Vegas. Doug Kazarian from OnlyPlayers.com joins us now to talk some wagering. A lot of games to get to, Doug. Let's start off with the news earlier today. Victor Wembanyama out for the season. Obviously, terrible news. You're glad that they're able to catch it early with it being a blood clot issue. Right. But this definitely means some changes in terms of Defensive Player of the Year. He was a heavy favorite for that award. Now out for the season, that certainly opens the door. Now Jaren Jackson Jr. Is the favorite to win that award. How do you see that award and Victor Wembanyama being out now?
Yeah, pretty crazy situation just because we're so late in the season, right? So he cannot win it because he won't have enough minimum games played. A guy like Anthony Davis will not as well. So the question is, you know, have really any voters been thinking about it? Like, who am I going to vote for second or third place? Like, I don't think people have been really focusing. So now they almost have to cram and think about this, and it's crazy because yet last night Jackson and Mobley were both like 30-35-1, and I just wonder. So I wrote an article randomly last night. Basically, just the history of this award is going to be changed because in all 42 winners in the history of the award have made the playoffs, and the Spurs last night were plus 650 to make the playoffs. So that was unlikely going to happen. And typically, in the last 20 years, there's only been one player who's won it from a defense that was not in the top 5 in terms of defensive net rating. So it's usually like last year, Rudy Gobert won as the head of the snake of a really good defense. So what's going to happen here? Like, Jackson's in the mix, but I wouldn't make him the favorite. So Dyson Daniels is young, but he leads the league in steals comfortably. And so when you have a stat like that, usually that's an easy one to hang your hat on. But the Hawks don't exactly have a good defense, and they may miss the playoffs as well. So then you have a bunch of Oklahoma City Thunder players who all, collectively they're the number one net rating team. So maybe it's a Lou Dort situation. This is an award where voter fatigue does not really hurt players. So, Rudy Gobert is a 4-time winner. Jaren Jackson has won it before, but I don't know if that's going to hurt him.
Hadn't this award become a little bit like the MVP of the NFL, the best quarterback award? Isn't this the best shot blocking big man award?
That's a great point. It's usually a big man. And it makes sense. When you're talking about the absolute best player on defense in the league, it's hard not to have a rim protector. But Marcus Smart did win this a couple years ago. It was one of those, it just felt like a year where, Devontae Smith won the Heisman, where you have to think, where it's like, okay, it's usually quarterback, but not this year. There was just momentum for a perimeter player to get
I voted for Mac Jones that year, Doug. I didn't vote for Devontae Smith.
I lost a lot of money on Mac Jones. I thought it was outrageous that Mac Jones did not win.
Doug, no quarterback's ever going to have those numbers again and not win it. And my justification was, okay, after Waddle got hurt, if Waddle doesn't get hurt, a lot of the Devontae Smith numbers goes to Waddle, but they're still Mac Jones numbers.
Correct. And that was the whole thing with returning punts as well. It was really just, honestly, it was profiling of a white guy. I mean, people didn't think he looked the part. I mean, this happened when Reggie Bush did not win when Christian McCaffrey did not win the Heisman, and Michael Wilbon talked about it. If he weren't white, maybe they'd look at his stats.
You're right, Doug. He looked like Opie Taylor.
They dismissed those stats, and they just said Pac-12, it's no defense. Now,
you look over at Mac Jones, and you think he's going fishing with Barney and Ainge.
That's right.
Yeah. Derrick Henry won it the year McCaffrey did, so it wasn't like it was an unworthy winner, but what McCaffrey was doing was, Reggie Bush stuff. So it was just funny. People dismissed it like, oh, just Pac-12 defense or whatever. But if, maybe if he weren't white or something, it was just funny. And Mac Jones is like all mushy and, I don't know. I mean, Burrow won it with similar stats the year before or whatever. So I just was so baffled that Devontae Smith can't, the whole offense was wide open, not just him.
Right.
It was just whatever. It just happened. So,
but Marcus Smart really did tap into that, didn't he? And he was the first non-big man.
You get some momentum, and it is what it is.
I mean, and who do you have to go back to? I guess would back to Gary Payton?
Well, Kawhi won it back. So perimeter players, but in terms of a guard, I mean, it's Gary Payton we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like back in the day.
Yeah. Wow. Gone a long ways back.
Way back.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to keep an eye on that award with everything going on. So look at some of these games tonight with the NBA back in full force. The Grizzlies, they're on the road tonight against the Pacers. Right now, Memphis a 2.5-point favorite on the road. The total at 249.5. Is there anything you like in this game?
So it's a tough read. So Pacers are getting their big man back, Miles Turner, and I think that changes a lot of things. Over-under at DraftKings 251, the highest in the NBA this year. Grizzlies are an attractive option because they are the best record in the NBA against the spread. But when the Pacers, now that they have Nebhard and Nesmith and now Turner, they're a pretty solid team. With Nebhard in the lineup, their metrics are much better. So it's a stay away for me. But if I wouldn't bet the under. I do think styles make fights, and both teams want to get up and down. I would actually play the Grizzlies team total over because I do think there's a chance that I don't think there's a scenario where Memphis doesn't score a lot. I do think there's one where the Pacers don't. So I would play Memphis team total.
Coming out of the break, any futures to win East or West or to win at all? Anything you like there? Any value?
It's so hard because of it's a one-way betting market. Now, we've talked about that. I just want to remind some of our listeners, a point spread is two-way. You can bet the underdog or the favorite. But a lot of times with the futures, you can just bet one way. So the Thunder at plus 225, the Grizzlies at 30-1. And so it's really hard to find value this late in the season unless you think a team can go on a run because the built-in hold percentage for the house gives them such an advantage. So I would look at, honestly, I do think the Grizzlies at 30-1 is decent. Clippers 35-1. I can't get behind them because they're such a cursed franchise. But, the Rockets maybe at 60-1 with Van Vliet coming back. Those are the only things I would consider. I will say this, for Defensive Player of the Year, Giannis at 150-1 is not the worst bet in the world.
Sure isn't.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I like that a lot. I hadn't really thought about him, but that is a definitely a good one to look at. Another game, I guess we have two TNT games tonight in the NBA. Let's go to the first one, Celtics 76ers. Right now, Boston 7.5-point favorite on the road, total at 223.5. What do you like here?
So this Celtics team has played with their food twice against the Sixers. They did lose at home on Christmas as a double-digit favorite, and then they did come back in the last game, but they did not cover. So the Sixers have played Boston fairly tough. This number opened 8, come down to 7 at most shops. I lean Boston. I think when they're at full strength, they can just bomb a bunch of threes. They'll have trouble against Embiid, but I just think the math at some point has got to work Boston's favor. But my favorite play in this game is Quentin Grimes. He's a backup guard for the Sixers, over 11.5 points. This thing should be like 13.5 or 14.5. He could get 20. He bombs. I think we're going to have a up and down game. I'll play over for Grimes.
I like that. Grimes just got there, too, a trade deadline acquisition for them. So that'll be a fun one to watch. The other TNT game tonight, Suns-Spurs, a game that's being played in Austin, Texas. Now we know Victor Wembanyama won't be playing. Phoenix, a 1.5-point favorite, the total 237.5. Do you like anything here?
So this was Spurs 1.5 yesterday, and then Wemby was listed as doubtful, and then it moved to 1.5 the other way, and then it's gone to 2, and then now 2.5. I'm tempted to lay it with the Suns, but keep in mind they have the single worst record against the point spread in the entire NBA.
Wow.
So, and then you have to play amateur psychologist with this, with the Spurs, right? They just lost Wemby for the year. Are they completely deflated? Like we saw the Mavs. Remember that Sunday Mavs game? The day after the previous night, they traded Luka.
Yeah.
They lost by like 50. I think they gave up 90 in the first half to Cleveland. And so is this team going to have its wind out of its sails? They're not even playing at home. They're playing in Austin. Or do you have leadership with Chris Paul and some guys with other edges like, Castle, and who just, win one for the Gipper, so to speak. And then this Phoenix team is so unreliable. It's really hard to, think that they have a backbone after 5 days off. Will they have discipline and everything? I lean to the Suns, but man, I can't pull the trigger. It's just too much unknown here.
Doug, I think through most of the college basketball season, we visited with you and we talked the hometown team, the Memphis Tigers. We could put you, I'm going to be nice about it, we could put you in the very reluctant, slow to embrace, maybe a lack of trust in Memphis. Sunday in overtime in Wichita, I think every one of your reservations probably manifested.
It's just a team that has such a wide variance of performance, right? They're often a road favorite in this conference that, they're better than, but sometimes teams catch them and can cover the back door. And it's frustrating, right? From a betting standpoint, you just don't know what you're going to get. Now, I love to back some ugly dogs taking double digits when you think it'll be a single-digit loss, but I just think with Memphis, they can run you out of the gym and dominate. So it's just a really tough team to handicap. I almost skip all their games. Even the Temple game where they lost at Temple earlier this year, you think they might run them out of the gym at home to a little revenge factor if they only won by 8.
Yeah.
So it's just not a team you want to get involved with, and that's okay. There's 300-something games and teams in college basketball. You can avoid one. It's fine.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about the Tigers is, they'll go out there and they'll be leading by, it's 12-point spread. They're leading by 16, 17, 18 late in the second half. And then the last 2 or 3 minutes, they let the other team go on a run. And, they end up winning by 10 or something like that and end up not covering. Last thing for you, Doug, is there anything, speaking of the Tigers, anything you like in college basketball tonight?
So pretty ugly game that I don't imagine anyone's got their eye on, and it's in the Colonial. Campbell and North Carolina A&T. I think I've mentioned this team before. Yeah. So North Carolina A&T was involved in some of the point shaving allegations, things like that. So what happened was they started 0-10 in conference play, and then all these allegations. And so really, if you think about their betting profile from a power rating standpoint by the odds makers, no one really knows what this team is, right? They were shaving points. So you don't really know if there were shots were being missed intentionally. It's just crazy. And then, but also they had to suspend a couple of their top scorers. So, the next game they're huge underdogs and they almost win, right? So they've had trouble scoring. They've gone under all 4 games since the suspended players. They are 1-3 outright and 3-1 ATS. So I think the market is corrected, and I think they're so they lack such depth that I think there's value fading them. So I'm on under 136.5 in their game. I'm laying the 5.5 with Campbell. That's my big play on the game. So I'm laying 5.5 with Campbell at North Carolina A&T. But I also am playing a couple units on North Carolina A&T under their team total of 65.5.
I like it. So
Love
a little
that.
bit of everything for that game. In the CAA, I'll definitely be paying attention to that. Doug
and Campbell College, the alma mater of Doug when I was a little guy and going to ABA games here in Memphis. One of my favorite players for the Memphis Tams was George Lehman from the Campbell Camels.
All
right. Nice. Yeah, but someone tried to tell me they're the Flying Camels, and I didn't realize that. I was like, no, I think they're just Camels.
No, they're
fighting.
They're just,
fighting. They're the fighting camels.
They're ground camels. They're not flying.
Yeah, no, they're a fun team to
fight.
watch. Yeah, they
fight.
They fight. That's for sure. Well, Doug, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll do it again next week.
You got it. And one more play. I do like D'Angelo Russell under 5.5 assists in the NBA. He plays for the Nets, and so they're playing the Cavs. So I like his assist. He's a gunner. He wants to shoot. He's not passing much.
That's right. That's right.
It.
Good stuff, Doug.
Thanks,
Thank
Doug.
you, man.
You got it, fella. Thank you.
Thank you.
Doug Kazarian joining us like he does every week to give us some great plays. Brad, I didn't think I'd be watching Campbell, North Carolina A&T tonight, but here we are.
And a Memphis Tams reference.
That's right. Didn't think I was getting that either, but here we are.
Just getting out, I think, is the best play. The Russell under assist.
Yeah, that was good. He just kind of threw that in there at the end, like, hey guys, let me give you one more. And hey, I'm always for it. So I definitely loved that, and I will be watching a lot of Campbell tonight. Cedric Henderson Jr., son of obviously Cedric Henderson, he also played at Campbell a couple of years ago before transferring to Arizona. So a lot of references to the Camels today. Let's go ahead and get to another break, and when we return, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
This traffic brought to you by Brinson Tax Service. They protect you like family.
Bobby J says get to the Gossett Kia President's Day sales event today at Gossett Kia on the Pike. You'll find 2025 Kia K4 LXS for less than $5 a day at $159 a month with class-leading torque and fuel efficiency. 2025 Kia Telluride S with more power, larger cargo bed area, and more ground clearance than Nissan Pathfinder $398 a month. 2025 Sportage EX, better overall consumer rating than Toyota RAV4, longer warranty for Evans.com at $279 a month. All with $49.99 due at signing. Plus Kia's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Call Bobby J. He'll put you in a new Kia today. Gossett Kia 1900 Covington Pike. Online, KiaCovingtonPike.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
Acquisition fee 20,000 miles per year, 20 cents excess mileage. K4 SEO 233118, MSRP 25320. Telluride SG59624, MSRP 41060. Sportage S719 2005, MSRP 30660. Includes all rebates and incentives. Must finance through KFA. Excludes tax filing license 895 PF with approved credit. Dealer stock only. CD for complete details. Offer valid through 3/2/2025.
Breakfast is what you make it, and maybe, just maybe once in a while, you want your breakfast to have a little kick to it.
That's why Sunrise doesn't just feature a full bar. They feature drinks that scream, have me with breakfast. Ever had a breakfast shot? They mix Jameson with butterscotch schnapps, then add an OJ chaser and a bite of bacon, and you'll feel like you've just had a taste of pancakes, but with alcohol. Another Sunrise specialty is the wake-up call. Vodka, Red Bull, and lime. And you can keep the can. As always, the food at Sunrise is unrivaled. And they have a full bar.
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy, exercise room, and even a heated pool and spa. Come see us and make your new home in Town Village.
Visit us and call Daniel at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home, Town Village.
Exercise. The exercise coach is ready for you. Strength training only takes 20 minutes twice a week with special computerized exercise equipment designed to maximize your workouts and minimize your time. An exercise coach gives you personal workouts by one-on-one with a trainer. Check out the exercise coach at exercisecoach.com/Lakeland or exercisecoach.com/Lakeland. Today, sign up for 2 exercise coach. Your age, injury, or knowledge.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
Well, I'll get to my big number in a second, but yesterday's big number for me was 85. It had to do with Alabama basketball. They had scored at least 85 points in 8 consecutive road games. Well, once we were done with that segment yesterday, I went to the handy-dandy sports book that I use to look at their team total, and their team total was set at 85.5 points.
Money.
And I was like, okay, I'm gonna bet it.
Easy money.
It's been on a roll. I did not think that they would score.
They
would
lose.
cover that and also lose and give up 110 points. But I was glad that went our way, and that streak now improves to 7 consecutive road games for Alabama. But my big number today is the number 18. I know a lot of people talking today about LeBron James and his lack of clutchness last night against the Charlotte Hornets. But I saw this earlier today, and really remarkable to see. LeBron James has had 6 straight games with at least 18 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists. Other than LeBron James, there have been 5 such games in total by players 40 or older in NBA history that meets that criteria. Michael Jordan did it 3 times, Karl Malone did it 1 time, and John Stockton did it once. LeBron James has done it in 6 straight games. Just shows you how good he is at his age. I mean, it really is. I hope we're not overlooking this because he is a polarizing player. I hope we're not overlooking the fact that he is doing this at that age.
We will never see this again.
Never. It's incredible. I mean,
for a lot of reasons.
Oh, yeah.
One of which, the money's so big. Why do it?
I mean, you just no reason to do it. But it is fun to just sit there and watch his greatness. I mean, the great player he is.
Even though I can't enjoy when he loses, but you're right.
That's right. You can.
Great point.
Maybe you can enjoy both sides of it.
My big number is 56. That's the most wins in a season for the Memphis Grizzlies. They've done it twice. They did it in 21-22 just a few years ago. and did it in 2012, 2013 on their way to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
28 left. Simple math would have to go 20-8 the rest of the way to get there. I don't think they're doing that.
No, it'd be tough. It'd be really, you'd have to be perfect pretty much to do that.
I don't think that should be expected.
No, certainly.
What is expected? Get to 50?
I think get to 50 is would be expected. And
Rob Fisher told me a long time ago. He said a Major League Baseball team on a first day of spring training, like right now, win 90 and see where it falls.
That's right. I think same thing with NBA.
NBA win 50.
Win 50, I think you're in
Let it rip.
a really good spot, and it feels like the Grizzlies are doing that. Speaking of spring training game today. I mean, we are back, Brett.
Did you watch any of it?
I watched like the first 6 innings of it.
You watched 6 innings?
Yeah.
I watched 2 and thought I was really doing something.
No, I watched like 6.
I watched 2 and I was so self-pleased. You watched 6? Way to go, Brian.
Now, I say I watched 6. I watched 3 where I was really paying attention. The other I just had, I had up while we've been doing shows. So
You know what I had to have? I had to hear this. I had to hear the crack of the bat.
Oh, man. Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I did. I'll be honest. We were during a segment. I was trying to find something on my phone, and I opened Twitter to look at something. It might have been when we were talking about Zach Martin earlier, and I saw someone put. There's a Twitter page out there that's MLB Home Run Tracker, and they post video of every home run hit in Major League Baseball, and it said first of the season, and it was the home run, and I saved it so that I could go back during the break and just hear the crack of the bat with the home run swing. So
yeah, I turned it on MLB just to see if there was any chatter about spring training, and the game was on.
You're like, look at this, we've got action. So it's awesome. We got more games tomorrow, so it's good to be back. I'm excited about it, and we're both
I am too.
Obviously big baseball guys, so we're certainly.
And the more I look at the everyday lineup for the Cardinals, I kind of like it a little more.
I need to look at it. I need to see what it's going to look like. And then maybe I'll get a little more excited about it.
Maybe warming back up to my original prediction.
Yeah. I don't know about all that. Your original prediction of them
my
in the World
always
Series?
prediction.
Yes. I was just making sure. So this is
since 2001.
So this is. I just looked it up, and I guess this is accurate. Potential starting lineup. For the Cardinals, Mason Wynn, Alec Burleson, Wilson Contreras, Brendan Donovan, Nolan Arenado, Lars Nootbaar, Jordan Walker, Ivan Herrera, and Victor Scott. It could grow on me.
Yeah, I didn't see one with Victor Scott in it. You're not a serious team with Victor Scott.
I think I've seen other ones because now that I'm reading it, I do remember seeing another one.
What does that have at first base?
This has Contreras at first base.
Okay.
But I think I saw another one that had Ciani in the outfield as kind of the
I like Ciani
everyday guy. Yeah,
especially his defense.
Oh yeah, his defense is great. Maybe not the bat as much, but
if he can get 240, you live with it.
I would take Ciani over Scott right now
every time. Victor Scott can't break 190.
Yeah, and so I would, if you replace Victor Scott in this lineup with Ciani, I think you can grow on me, Brett.
Victor Scott is the guy that fans and organizationally that you should not be mad at him. Who they should be mad at him is the scout that signed him.
Well, that's 2 days in a row we've gotten that reference from you. I love it.
It's true.
It is true.
Don't be mad at Victor Scott.
No.
He didn't sign himself.
He's playing ball.
He's not any good.
Well, yeah, he's fast. That's what he is, Brett.
That's great.
Every time I hear someone talk about Victor Scott, it's he's really fast. You
if
see him
he
on the
hits
base
it in the air, the first time I said that last year, he hit a home run that night. Remember?
I do remember.
I said if he hits it in the air, it's automatic out.
And he went long. I think it was his only home run of the year.
I think so too.
He
couldn't hit in Memphis.
No. He struggles at the plate.
Now he would have been maybe a great leadoff guy for Whitey Herzog in '86.
Yeah, but times have changed.
Yeah,
not the same style of baseball.
We're not much for table setters these days.
No. We want you to
knock it over the boards.
Hit the ball. Yeah, we want you those batting averages up. But no, I think that could grow on me. We'll see once they roll it out there and I see a couple spring training games. Maybe it'll grow on me. Well, let's go ahead and get to another break. Wrap up our second hour, and when we return, we're talking a whole lot of Tigers with Greg Gaston.
Since 1948, in the alley, the rendezvous. I'm with John Burgess. John, what's going on in the rendezvous? Brett, after 76 years, we've decided to expand our product line. Anyone who's tasted our ribs is familiar with our vinegar base. It's now available in the 32-ounce jar. It's so good to base or marinate all meats. I even put a little bit on turnip greens. Something we've been using at the restaurant or in our house has been the Greek seasoning. My father was a cook, but my mother was a chef. And she was the one that put Greek seasoning on everything from the Mediterranean diet to steak. My mom used it on soup, salad, veggies, fish, any meat. It's a great seasoning and a flavor enhancer. My brother Nick figured out salt and pepper is more than just McCormick's and Morton's. He's come up with the perfect blend we use to coat our shoulders and our brisket, and he used to make it for his friends as Christmas gifts, and they loved it. All these products are available at Rendezvous. They're online for shipping as gifts and in many grocery stores. And if they're not in your favorite grocery store, ask your grocer to stock it. A beloved family affair is still going strong since 1948. Rendezvous. Hey, Marty, that makes something always happening over there at Gossip Volkswagen Germantown. So what's happening right now?
The 2025 Jetta S is what's happening, Randy. You can buy Jetta S for $20,499.
That's awesome. What else is happening?
2024 Jetta S, $249 a month or $28,616. Or front and rear headroom and longer warranty than Crosstrek or DX30.
Tell me more, Marty.
2024 Tiguan S, more cargo space, torque, and warranty than Escape or RAV4 at a lower price, $279 a month.
Plus 2024 Atlas SEL Peak Editions, $5,000 off MSRP. So get to Gossip Volkswagen Germantown. 7420 Winchester Road. Shop online, gossipbwg.com. Ask for Marty McNair.
Remember, the future is what you make it.
Briggs Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Briggs Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With two conveyor lines at the largest patch ovens in the Mid-South, Briggs can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Briggs Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Briggs Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or BriggsPowderCoating.com.
Listen each and every Sunday morning at 11 to join Ottawa Presbyterian Church for worship. Ottawa is a PCUSA church downtown Memphis.
This traffic brought to you by Brinson Tax Service. They protect you like family.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It's still moving right now on 240 East from Mill Branch all the way out to 385 Bill Morris Parkway. Still some danger out here on some of these back road side streets that haven't been traveled on that much. We're hoping it's going to thaw out sooner than later. Midtown traffic normally be a little bit heavier than this with that traffic flow on 240 southbound at South Parkway. Looks pretty good down through there at the moment. Hey, if your yard needs some help this time of the year, don't worry. Lawn Solutions is here with over 30 years experience. Call Lawn Solutions at 867-5626. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis with John Harden. Weekdays from 11 to 1. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jack Wiley Roller Club Safety once again.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you as we start our third and final hour. A lot to get to as we talk Tigers every single week with Greg Gaston.
From the Tiger sideline Sports 56 mornings, along with Eli Savoy from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. On Twitter X at Greg_Gaston. Here's Greg with Bryant and Brett.
Greg Gaston joins us now. Make sure you listen to him every single morning with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli. Greg, thanks so much for joining us. Let's go back to last Sunday, Memphis and Wichita State, a game that here in Memphis earlier in the season was very close, a game where Wichita State led for most of the night. Tigers able to come back late in the second half and secure the win. Not so much on the road at Wichita. Game goes to overtime. The Shockers take the 84-79 win. What went wrong for the Tigers Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, good afternoon, guys. Look, a lot went wrong. This wasn't as bad as the Temple game when nothing went right for Memphis in the loss in Philly, but they did enough bad things and poor things in this game to lose at Wichita State. They had their opportunities and just couldn't cash in. They had a horrible last possession in regulation that Coach Hardaway talked about after the game, and then on Monday night on his coach's show basically took the blame. In overtime, they grabbed a 4-point lead and then tried to take the air out of the ball with about 3.5 minutes left. So there was a lot of things that I had an issue with, but I think most importantly to me, where they lost the game was the defensive lack of communication and really the way they defended the perimeter. And the guards for Memphis, who we talk about all the time with their offensive capability, are really good defenders for the most part, but they had an off game collectively, and there was consistent dribble drive penetration by Wichita State. They would blow by the Tigers' guards. They would get into the paint, and then it was a tough situation for either Moussa Cisse or Nicholas Jourdain to try to defend because they had their bigs that they had to worry about, and sometimes they would leave the big, and there would be the pick-and-roll dunk. Other times they stayed with that guy, and then the kid or the young player would go right in and lay it in. So there was a lot of issues, I thought, defensively. I don't think they ever really fixed the problem as the game went along. And they've done a really good job for the most part this year in adjusting things on defense, doing things on the fly when things aren't working. But I just thought overall it was not a good performance. And, again, Penny took a lot of the blame for that. He thought that, again, after the fact, but that the timeout he called he probably should not have called, closing in on the final moments of that game. Obviously, I mentioned the play that was called was not the play that we saw, which was a rushed corner, last-second ditch effort three from Colby Rogers. Obviously, all they needed was a deuce, and they just never got a good shot off. Haggerty, I think, was the guy who was supposed to have the ball. He had it, and then he gave it up and never got it back. I got to credit Wichita State, though, with a really good game plan, good defense, timely offense. Their bigs played well. They had 9 more rebounds than Memphis and had a bunch of offensive rebounds. So, yeah, all in all, it wasn't a horrendous performance. It was a horrendous result in losing that game.
Greg, that's just an excellent summation of what occurred, and giving credit to Wichita State that's had a good plan. Remember that game, the ouster of the Tigers at the AAC tournament last year in Fort Worth.
Right.
Wichita State's had a good plan for Memphis, and so much analysis and critique, some criticism this week. And I asked this yesterday of Bryant, and I ask it now of you. With these players, that it's all legal, it's all above board, that are very well paid, why is it Penny Hardaway's fault when they don't play well?
Well, it's not. It's everybody's fault collectively, right? There's a little bit of blame on the coach because he's got to make those play calls or decide on timeouts. But
he can't play for them.
No, and that's what I was going to get to. Obviously, the players have to play. No question about it. It's a shared blame in a loss, and then collectively when you win a game, it's not one player, it's team. And I know that's a cliche, and, I'm not copping out here. I think absolutely that you have to share in the bad, you have to share in the good. But coaches, Brett, for the most part, they'll take the blame, and that's where Penny, I think, has really matured as a coach, because in past years, even though he doesn't do it purposely, would sometimes say something that would sound like he was throwing players under the bus. That has not been the case this year. He's been, I think, really, really good in what he says maybe more trusting in what he says as opposed to just kind of go out there guns a-blazing and say some things. And I think he's also learned to kind of take the blame like coaches do often. But you're right. Really, when it comes down to it, the guys that are trying to score and the guys that are trying to defend are the only guys you can look at and go, well, that's why they won and that's why they lost. The coach can only do so much. They can only prepare them so much. They can't go out there and shoot the ball and try to defend.
Mm-hmm. What did you make of Dane Dange's performance? 20 minutes, 2 for 5 from the field, only 1 rebound, 4 points in that game. Quincy Ballard on the other side. It feels like every time the Tigers play Wichita State, Quincy Ballard has a nice game. What did you see from Dane Dange and the way Penny Hardaway responded? And like I said, only playing 20 minutes. You look at the other guys in the starting lineup. 34, 43, 40, 21 from Colby Rogers. That response from Penny Hardaway to realize, hey, he doesn't have it tonight. Let's get these other guys in there.
Exactly, and I'm not faulting him. I think he made the right decision. I know a lot of people are going to look at those minutes and go, how can you only play Dane Dange that many minutes when he has been so good, especially in conference play? What's that, Brett?
Come sit by me.
Yeah, come sit by me because you know what? They've taken you out of your game. And when he's not doing much offensively, that means he's not defending well, he's not rebounding. Because we see his numbers when he's scoring points, he's rebounding, and he's very much involved on both ends. They had a great game plan to prevent Danger from dominating that paint. And so when it wasn't going well on both ends, Penny had to go with Moussa Cisse. And look, I think Moussa Cisse, I've had some people disagree with me. I think Moussa Cisse played incredibly well. And I'll tell you again why. I know Ballard had the dunks and they had the pick and roll. But going back to what I just said, the guards allowed that dribble drive. They went to the hole, and then he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. Do I keep with my guy? Do I try to stop the penetrator? I thought rebounding the ball, blocking shots, even scoring, I thought he had a really good game. You could argue that, in my opinion, that was just probably second to the Ole Miss game in which he just absolutely went crazy. And then I thought Jourdain played really, really well. So the other two bigs played, I thought, extremely well, but Danger's their offensive weapon. And when Danger is not scoring offensively and Haggerty's not going off for 25 points, luckily for them, Hunter was making some shots, and Wichita State was missing shots, which kept that game close. Wichita State, if they made some shots, I believe they ended up 4 of 23 from 3. If they made some shots, they went into the locker room probably with a double-digit lead, and I don't think it's even close in the end and doesn't go to overtime. That's what would have happened if they had some semblance of offense. They did not have their shooters going well at all, and for Memphis, they weren't getting their production inside from Dane Danger.
Greg, I heard you say that early Monday morning. I mean, by 7:10, that was good. That was good analysis. That if Wichita State had played well, they'd have blown the doors off.
Yes, I mean, they played a really, really good. The only thing they did poorly was shoot the outside, rock. I think inside they got to the hole. That's all you get asked for. Attack. They were in attacking mode the entire time, and their defensive strategy was terrific. They had a great game plan, as I said, to take Danger out of the game and to really do a good job in switching and communicating. It was much better than the job Memphis did. But with that said, and now you get ready for the game on Saturday or Sunday, which I'm sure we'll talk about here. But Memphis has done a great job in bouncing back every single time they've faced adversity. I expect them to bounce back and look really good on Sunday.
I do too, Greg. And FAU much improved than the opening conference game way back on January 2nd, I think. I was at the Gator Bowl. That game was
I don't doubt you. I don't doubt you knowing those dates. I'm telling you.
Simultaneously. But everything has changed since Sunday. I mean, we're even watching the scoreboard tonight of Wichita against FAU differently, aren't we?
I don't think there's any question. I mean, every game is magnitude that much more as far as importance because of the situation that Memphis is in. And again, you look at it and you go, they lost 2 games in conference. Well, we know the story and we know the conference they play in. But for Florida Atlantic, that first game, Memphis has come off the really, really strong non-conference performance. And so they go into that first game. Florida Atlantic had been a thorn in the side of the Tigers for a couple of years, albeit now Dusty May's gone and the cast of characters are pretty much gone. So, but Memphis went in there with that attitude, and they took care of business, and they made a statement right off the bat, and they blew their doors off. Yes, Florida Atlantic will come in with that in mind, knowing they got clobbered that first game. But I think with Memphis, it's all mental. It really is. I think when they are not really engaged the way they should be, I think that's where they end up struggling out there with their game. I think the mental part, when they have control of what they're going to do to prepare for a game, whether it's the game plan or just the individual player firing themselves up for a great performance, I think there's nobody in this conference that can come close. And we saw it against Florida Atlantic. We saw it in the rout of UAB. But we didn't see it at Wichita State. I don't think they were engaged like they should have been. I think they will absolutely be engaged for this game on Sunday. I'll be surprised, guys, and I'll say that I'll eat crow on Monday if that's the case. Now, the one game you better worry about is Rice on Wednesday, because Rice took UAB down to the wire and lost by a point last night. Rice beat Memphis last year. Maybe that's a little motivation, although the players are pretty much, completely different roster. But the coach, Penny Hardaway, he remembers. But that is between that game and the game Sunday, and then the UAB game. So it's that tweener game, and that's what worries me about some of these games, because can you get motivated for playing the likes of Connecticut, Michigan State, Auburn, Ole Miss? Can you do the same thing with all these conference opponents? And I think the answer is no, and we've seen that because Memphis has played to the level of their competition. But when they are engaged and they're ready to go, I think they're really good. And they are scorned. They are upset. They are frothing at the mouth to get back out there after what happened this past weekend. So, again, I think they're going to play really, really well on Sunday.
Greg, I want you to speak for you. We have you on for you to speak for yourself. So I'm going to ask you the question. Do you think there's at least one more loss in the Tigers?
I had said there's going to be a couple of losses. I said 2. Could be 3. And I almost guaranteed, maybe I did guarantee, that they were going to lose 1 to UAB. So that worries me a bit. And I know they clobbered UAB the first time around. But I just talked about mentally being engaged and being ready. Man, it's going to be a hostile environment at Bartow Arena. And I think UAB is going to play a lot better. Doesn't mean that Memphis won't match that or exceed it and win that game. So I'm not going to sit here and say that they're going to lose the game. But, Brett, in my opinion right now, the only game that they'll lose the rest of the way going into the conference tournament possibly is UAB. I think these other 4 games they'll win. They probably will win at UAB, but I wouldn't put it down as a certainty right now. But they may not play as well in a couple of these games, and that's always a worry. Like Rice, the spread, assuming they play well, like I think they will this Sunday, win the game comfortably, going to be a big favorite either way Wednesday against Rice. Well, that's one of those games that worry me about how they'll play. I still think they'll win. But I don't know. They could lose another game. And if they lose another game, you know what they're staring at. They're staring at an 8-9, a 50-50, a coin flip first-round matchup, more than likely in the NCAA tournament, which is what you've tried to avoid by doing what you did. All that great damage done in the non-conference, you're giving it right back if you lose another.
What does Jerry Palm say one more loss would do to the Tigers' profile?
Yeah, he said yesterday, and I'm trying to remember exactly what he said, but look, he has them as a 7 right now. So I don't think there's any question that he would probably pop them down into that 8 range. It's hard not to see the Tigers dropping a seed line with another loss in the conference. Yeah. That's the problem with the conference.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. We talked a little bit about the matchup on Sunday against FAU, a team that Memphis has already beaten. It was the first game of the conference slate, 90-62, the final score on the road. But you look at what FAU's doing now, 5-game winning streak. They are number 2 in adjusted offensive efficiency in conference play. And in 3 of their last 5 games, they've knocked down double-digit three-pointers. We remember that first game, they really struggled knocking down shots from deep, 5 for 31 in that matchup. How do the Tigers slow down this FAU offense? They've already been able to do it once on the road. How does that play out on Sunday?
Well, they have to tighten up that perimeter defense because, again, against Wichita State, they gave them open threes, not designed to give them the open threes. It just happened to be that way. Wichita State moved the ball well, and then they shot blanks. Yep. They couldn't make shots. That won't be the case with Florida Atlantic. If they're getting open threes, they could be dangerous. So Memphis has to emphasize perimeter defense. They have to communicate much better, and if they do, I think they have a really good chance to win the game comfortably. I know Florida Atlantic is playing really well right now, and they'll come in with a chip on their shoulder, but I still think when push comes to shove that it's not a great roster. They lost a ton of talent when Dusty May decided to go to Michigan. So, again, perimeter defense, first and foremost, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the big thing. I know earlier this week you had Chris Douglas Roberts on your show. Talk to us about what he had to say on your program. I know people who didn't get to hear that, it's up at featured audio. They can go online to the website, Sports 56, and listen to that. But what did CDR have to say?
He goes into the M Club Hall of Fame, University of Memphis M Club Hall of Fame this Saturday. So looking forward to that, and I'm sure a lot of folks are as well. And look, I couldn't remember. I was saying to Chris, have I had you on since 2008? I mean, he's one that's always been tough to get, pretty elusive, and we know that he's a different cat.
Sure.
He's a different character. He's a father. He's a businessman. He's an entrepreneur. He changed his name. A lot of things that are different that make him so unique. But, man, he was great when I got in contact with him, and he was all for coming on. And then if you listen to the interview right off the bat, he's like, Greg, I know what people want to hear. They want to talk about the Tigers in 2008 and the run and the stories. And then he said, I'm going to need more than 20 minutes. So we ended up doing pretty much 40 minutes, 2 segments. And he was just great. And it was really interesting when we got so we're talking about different things and all that. So I get a text from Jarvis Greer. He said, Greg, ask him about getting motivated for every single conference opponent. Now, granted, as you know, Brett, certainly, and Brian, you know this too, he played in Conference USA back then. It wasn't a bad conference. It wasn't the American. It wasn't this year in the American. There were some teams with pulses. There were teams that could knock off, maybe not that Memphis 08 team, but certainly they could be comparable in a game. They could be formidable in a game. So he said we took that just basically out of the equation. We went to play, whether it was home or away, and we hated the team. We went in with that, we hate you. We are going to squash you. You are not in the same league with us. You're inferior to us. I'm putting some words into his mouth, but this is basically the gist of what he said. In other words, the team had the other team beaten when they got off the bus and they stepped on the hardwood for pregame. They had that team already beaten. That's what Memphis did. They were intimidating to look at. They were intimidating from everything that they brought to the table. There wasn't no lovey-dovey and all that stuff. And in this day and age, we got too much of that. There's too much respect for each other. I love that old-school mentality that CDR brought to the table, and his teammates did too. He talked about how everybody had a role. All the roles were defined. He talked about the importance of having that, the leadership. When they had a problem, they went behind closed doors and they got it rectified. They didn't need John Calipari to step in. They got it done. He also talked about the loss of Andre Allen for that national championship game. I don't think there's any question in my mind, and certainly not in CDR's mind or any of the other former Tigers I've talked to, that they win that game with Antonio Anderson. He had so much praise, Andre Allen. He had so much praise for Andre Allen that he pushed Derrick Rose the entire year. And when Derrick Rose came in as a freshman, he still was getting acclimated to the game, wasn't real good at the beginning, as people will attest to, and then turned into the stud that he was. And Andre Allen was a big part of that. And not having Allen was a big loss for that championship game. So, yeah, I think he's still bitter about what happened, and a lot of people are, and a lot of those former players are. But, man, guys, he was a breath of fresh air in his own unique style, the way he speaks. Everything's just real cool and slick and all that, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I would recommend for folks, if they got a few minutes, to go ahead and listen to that. As you said, Brian, go to the website, sportsmemphis.com, and then check out the featured audio and listen to the interview with CDR.
Greg, it was great radio, and the near upset in North Little Rock to Mississippi State. You know, Ben Hansbrough had a shot. The little brother, the great North Carolina player, he had a shot that went down in the well. Came out after that to go to Houston and do what they did to Izzo and to Rick Barnes in Michigan State and Texas. That was bulldozer.
Yeah, and he said, I asked him a question about like which was the I don't know how I phrased it, but I was asking him for like what blew him away the most: the demolition of Michigan State, the demolition of UCLA, the demolition of all those big time opponents that he beat and that they beat. I thought he was going to say Michigan State because that game you were hardly in your seat. It was over for Tom Izzo and Michigan State. We know what the type of talent they had. And UCLA, how many guys from that team went to the NBA? Yeah. Well, it was Texas that he picked at. He said that was the one, that game against Texas. But you're right about Mississippi State. I remember being in Little Rock for that one. And that just goes to show you that in the big dance, even teams that are number one seeds, that are highly seeded, that you need a little bit of luck, too, to go your way. You need skill, you need talent, but you need a little bit of luck. And, you know, Memphis had all of the above, and then they go in, and then, unfortunately, the luck turned to bad with what happened in those final moments and then into overtime.
Yeah, well, definitely a great interview, and like you said,
thank you.
Go and listen to it. Go check it out. Definitely a lot of fun, especially with him getting inducted this weekend. Well, Greg, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll do it again next week.
Sounds good, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Greg. Greg Gaston joining us every single week to talk Tigers. You can hear him every morning with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli from 7 to 10 a.m. But before we get to a break, let me remind you about our great sponsors, Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Jaguar Bluff City has been the premier Jaguar dealership for the greater Memphis area since 1984, and their talented team is ready to help you find your next perfect vehicle at unbeatable rates. Swing by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City today and check out the new 2025 models like the 2025 Range Rover Sport, the 2025 Range Rover Velar, and the 2025 Defender. Test drive the Range Rover Sport, where luxury meets performance. It's a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility, with options ranging from 360 horsepower up to 635. It's also available as a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle with $7,500 federal tax credit when leased with approved credit. Take a look at the Range Rover Velar, powered by mild hybrid technology and enhanced with the latest well-being features and fully connected entertainment system. The Range Rover Velar is the ultimate luxury compact crossover. Purchase yours today and get special 4.4% for 72 months financing available with approved credit. Don't forget about the Defender. Available in multiple models to fit your needs, the Defender is built for the modern explorer, and Jaguar Bluff City is offering special interest rates for 60 and 72 months on various models. Give them a call, 877-259-6169. Go online to jaguarbluffcity.com, but go out there and test drive those vehicles. 6335 Wheel Cove, just off of Quince for Bluff City Jaguar. Let's go ahead and get to another break, and when we return, we'll talk about what's trending.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hey everybody, the new Silverado deal of the year, maybe the decade, is here in Olive Branch at All Star Chevrolet, where all the Silverados are. Yes, you can get financing down to 2.9, plus make no payments for 90 days. Finance your new Blazer, 1.9, no payments for 90 days. Look, it's still love month, so come get a new Silverado or Blazer. You will love no payments till May, and your good credit deserves it. If you're law enforcement, first responders, healthcare, military, education, recent grad, you get an extra $500 bonus. And if you're looking for certified Silverado Tahoe Suburbans, they're right here at All Star Chevy in Olive Branch. Every pre-owned you want, Fords, Hondas, Hyundais, dozens of Silverados, they're all here. And if you have any vehicle you want to sell, bring it here to All Star Chevy in Olive Branch and get the most money for it today. Together, let's drive. AllStarAutoGroup.com.
One sign that a bar is a great bar is their signature cocktails, and the signature cocktails at Bell Tavern really set the place apart. Maybe just a simple 3-whiskey old-fashioned with a house blend of domestic whiskeys, or a barrel-aged Manhattan with Rittenhouse Rye, Rockwell Sweet Vermouth, barrel-aged bitters, and maraschino cherries. Those are 2 of the incredible drinks you can get at Bell Tavern, Memphis's perfect downtown neighborhood bar, and there are many, many more. Combine those drinks in the friendly atmosphere, and you've got Bell Tavern.
All 650 acquisition fee, 20,000 miles per year, 20 cents excess mileage. Pay for SEO 233118, MSRP 25320. Telluride SG 59624, MSRP 41060. Sportage S719 2005, MSRP 30660. Includes all rebates and incentives. Must finance through KFA. Excludes top final license 895 PF with approved credit. Dealer stock only. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 3/2/2025.
It's the Kia President's Day sales event on now at Gossett Kia South Mount Moriah. Hey, what's up, Jeff Allen?
Randy, I've got a 2025 Kia K4 LXS for less than $5 a day at $159 a month with class-leading torque and fuel efficiency. 2025 Kia Telluride S front-wheel drive with more power, larger cargo area, and more ground clearance than a Nissan Pathfinder. $398 a month. Plus a 2025 Sportage EX, better overall customer rating than a Toyota RAV4 and longer warranty per Edmunds.com at $279 a month.
All $49.99 to signing 24-month lease. Plus, get a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty.
So whether you live in Horn Lake, South Haven, Olive Branch, or Memphis, you'll be happy at Gossett Kia on Mount Moriah.
You still thinking job change in the new year? Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy. IT? Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI. That's what I did. Really? How? Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up. Sweet. Are classes online or on campus? Both. Well, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students.
Online radio show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Nancy Porter with 24/7 Sports. Former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons. Gordon Ford covering SEC sports ball. And former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Garvey. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings. Your Ole Miss sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show. Right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station.
This traffic brought to you by Brinson Tax Service. They protect you like family.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It's picked up with a little bit more volume in the last few minutes. 240 East up by Poplar, Walnut Grove. Normally it'd be heavier than this, but this is not a normal day as traffic still moving right along. Coming out of Midtown on 240 South as you work your way down past Norris. It looks good right now going outbound on Sam Cooper all the way over to Perkins. If your yard needs some help this time of the year, don't worry. Lawn Solutions is here to help with 30 years experience. Check them out online at lawnsolutionsinc.net. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you as we got about 30 minutes left in today's show. We got to talk about what's trending. Couple things trending today, but we've talked a lot of college basketball today, and you mentioned it with Greg, a big game to keep an eye on for the Tigers tonight. FAU and Wichita State, the team that Memphis just lost to, playing against the team that Memphis will face on Sunday. I don't think I even realized that game was tonight, so that will definitely be something to keep an eye on. But, Brett, you wanted to look at our kind of a little brainstorming, our top 16 college basketball teams. A tricky exercise, but I think a fun one.
And when we get to the bottom of it, how many of those teams do we think can really win it all?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I'll start with Auburn 1, right. Yes, they can.
Yep.
2, Florida, same. 3, Duke, they can win it all. 4, Houston, I'm going to say yes for Houston. 5, Alabama, and that's shakier than it was, but I'm still going to say they can win it all after saying earlier today you can't win with that style. So I'm going to be right either way.
That's right.
That's the only 5 teams I think can win it all.
Yeah.
6, Tennessee. 7, Wisconsin. 8, Texas A&M. 9, Iowa State. 10, Purdue. 11, Michigan. 12 Texas Tech, 13 Arizona, 14 Michigan State, 15 Kentucky, and 16 Marquette.
Okay. All right.
That would be my top 16.
All right. I like it. All right. Here's mine. Number 1, I have Alabama. I absolutely think they can win the national championship.
You have Bama 1?
Or excuse me, Auburn.
Okay.
Did I say Alabama? I'm so sorry. Auburn, number 1. And obviously, I think they can win the national championship. 2, I have Duke. I think they can win the national championship as well. 3, I have Florida. I think they can win it all. 4, Houston. I think they can win it all. 5, Alabama. I think they can win it all.
We're right on so far.
That's right. Yeah, we are right there with each other. 6, I have Tennessee.
Same.
I think they can get to the Final Four. I don't know about
win
the whole thing.
I think they can go to the Final Four. I think any of this 16 can go to the Final Four.
Absolutely. 7, I have Wisconsin.
Wow, we're in agreement.
I think they can win the whole thing. If they get hot, if they the way they've been playing, I think they could win it all. But I think that's the end for me of teams that can win it all.
So you have 7 that maybe can.
Sure, yes. The last 2 very shaky, but sure.
I got 5 with really 2 shaky.
Yeah.
Houston and Bama.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, but we're very similar with that. Number 8, I have Iowa State. Number 9, I have Missouri. 10, Texas Tech. 11, St. John's. 12, Kentucky. 13, Texas A&M. 14, Michigan State. 15, Michigan. And 16, Marquette.
Well, we have a lot alike.
We do have a lot alike.
The big one, though, I have Mizzou nowhere in my top 16.
That's right.
You have them 9.
I have them 9. Yeah, I've been really impressed with what they're doing. I think they're a top 10 team.
I'm a little bigger on Michigan than you are, just a few pegs, but we're in agreement on Michigan State
That's right.
at 14.
Yeah, and I think you have Arizona in your list. I do not have Arizona. I have Arizona. They'd probably be my 17th if we had kept going. But I have them.
Any
right
impulse to put the Tigers in?
No, not at all.
No.
Did
Sunday
not even
did
thought
that.
about them. Did not even think about
Sunday did that, as I've referenced with Greg, inferred with Greg. It now makes that game tonight and some standings watching. Just what if that happened, if this occurred.
Yeah. I mean,
how'd that happen?
It's crazy. I mean, it goes back to this conference, and you're going to be watching tonight's game, and you're going to see, can this Wichita State team go out there and beat FAU, and what is the reaction if FAU goes out there and gets a big win over Wichita State, and obviously try to start getting ready for Sunday's game against them. So definitely a fun matchup.
My next statement by no means encompasses the Memphis Tigers. It exempts the Memphis Tigers. They're not in this group whatsoever. But Sunday in the American, this coming Sunday, the schedule in the American, take out the Memphis game.
Okay.
The rest of those games matter, but the interest level will be about whatever a crowd will be like at Dickies Arena that Memphis is not playing in.
Yeah. That sounds about right. I'm trying to pull up the schedule to look at it, but
Tulane, Wichita State matters.
Yeah, it certainly matters.
What North Texas does matters.
Yeah, no, you're right.
How did East Carolina get to 15 wins?
How about that?
I know how. Playing in this league.
That's right. You go 500 in this league, and you win 15 games.
Remember when I asked Greg a few weeks ago, Greg, could this league be a little bit better? And he said, no, it's looking better because they're playing each other.
Yeah,
and that was it. That was the answer.
It was a really good point by him. Because when you're, it's like the vice versa of the SEC. The SEC looks so good, and teams are taking losses, and you have to question some of these teams of, are they bad, or is it just they're playing in the SEC? Kind of the exact opposite of the American is, there are teams in here like East Carolina that has 15 wins on the season now, and you're going, okay, are they good, or are they just playing and beating up and doing life in the American? And I would say it's the latter of that.
I just don't think South Carolina, LSU, and Oklahoma are good no matter what.
Yeah, no, I mean it's
Arkansas three made threes last night.
Yeah.
3 of 19.
Yeah, and took Auburn to the end. I mean, how about that? I mean,
They did.
it was a game where you were going, uh-oh. I mean, is something going to happen here? But ultimately, it wasn't enough. And Nelly Davis looked great. I mean, he's really turned a corner. And
If they can get him to shoot.
yeah, I mean that's the thing. And he has, from the start of the season when it was like, what happened to Davis, to now, he's playing much better still. He just doesn't have really a shot.
All right,
But,
I want you to
he's
do
making
some
an impact.
W's and L's for me. You ready?
Oh, geez. Okay, let's go.
Here we go.
right.
Arkansas at home Saturday against Mizzou.
Loss.
I agree. At home next Wednesday night against Texas.
Win.
I agree. 1-1. I think 1-1 out of those two in some fashion.
Sure. Yeah.
So 1-1 at South Carolina.
I'm gonna say loss. How about that?
Well, that's the end.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
So 1-2 at Vandy.
Loss.
1-3
Yeah.
home against State. So the full spiral.
Oh yeah, I mean, if the South Carolina game will be huge, and South Carolina has been, I mean, they've been begging for a win. I mean, they have had games where it looks like, all right, here it is, they're gonna win, and they can't do it.
And they're going to beat somebody.
And they're gonna beat somebody. I was looking, I think with John the other day, I was looking at their last games. Texas at home, Missouri on the road, Arkansas at home, Georgia at home, Tennessee on the road. Out of those 3 home games, they win one of those.
All these remaining games for everyone in SEC all sounds alike.
Oh yeah, I mean it's crazy.
At Texas, home against Oklahoma, at Vandy, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt.
Yeah, it's I think it was maybe Alabama yesterday. We were looking at their remaining schedule, and I go, yeah, I mean that's tough. That's an extremely difficult schedule for anybody to end the season. And then I pulled up somebody else's schedule in conference. I go, well, that's an impossible schedule to play at the end of the season. So I mean that's the SEC.
2 hours ago, almost to this minute, 2 hours ago, I asked Drew DeArmond, okay, all these bids, but how many Final Four teams?
Yeah.
That's what you're going to be. That's what you're ultimately judged on.
Yeah, no, it is. That's just
It's not bowl bids; it's bowl wins.
Right. It's what this sport has become, is how far you can go, and I don't think that's the best way to determine the strength of a conference, but it's what it's turned into, and we'll ultimately see.
Well, how else do you determine the strength, though?
Well, it's impossible, but I think it's tough to try to determine the entirety of how good a conference is based on the results of a single elimination tournament. I mean, it's tough. Ball doesn't fall the right way, and you're out. And I don't think that's the best way.
I'm just spitballing here. So the SEC with that big gaudy 30 wins and 4-loss record against the ACC.
Sure.
But if you have 2 ACC teams knock out SEC teams in the Sweet 16, advantage ACC, isn't it?
I think you have a conversation there. I think it was Kevin Sweeney that brought it up a couple weeks ago. It was either him or David Cobb, and we were talking about it, and they said, I think you look at the amount of teams that get to the second weekend. If you get to the Sweet 16, and you have, you look up, and
I do think that matters. I do think Sweet 16 matters,
and I think that's a good, to put that in there as well, to kind of help see the real strength of these conferences.
In the off season, you just ran into a random coach on vacation, and you knew nothing about. Well, you knew a little something about college basketball, but not like we keep up with it. And they said to you, well, how was your season this year? Well, we went to Sweet 16.
It's a great season.
That's good.
That's a great
real
season.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, only 16 teams get there out of 300 and some odd. I mean,
all right, Brian. Now I'll ask this around it. What is the football? What is the football comparison? What bowl game do you have to win to be Sweet 16, Elite 8?
Yeah, I forgot. We had this conversation
last
year, and I forgot. We ended up limiting it down to something, and I can't remember what it was. I think it was.
I'll go completely local. Tennessee in football eliminated at Columbus. What is that the basketball equivalent of?
I would say it's probably. Oh, it's so hard. Round of 32. I mean, but that's.
Oh, really?
I
thought it was Elite 8.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard though because you got to think. I mean, you made the playoffs, and
Bama losing to Michigan in the bowl game. That was the basketball equivalent of.
I would say that's
round of 32.
Yes, so I would say
Ole Miss beating Duke in football was the equivalent of.
I would say round of 32 or 64, maybe. I mean, I think that's just one of them. But now that I have this building up, then yes, Tennessee, that's either Sweet 16 or Elite 8.
Arkansas over Texas Tech is NIT.
Man. Yeah, I mean, well, maybe round of 64 is very big, Brett. You know, they don't all mean the same. You know, they're not all the same games. You don't view 116 like you view a 8-9 games. I mean, there's levels to it.
We're gonna continue this.
Oh man, it's such a tough conversation. It's hard to try to figure out which is which.
So much fun talking Tigers with Greg Gaston like we do every Thursday, every Friday. Tomorrow at 5, presented by Jim's Place Grill in Collierville. We'll talk Tiger basketball with the beat writer from the Commercial Appeal, Jason Munns, who is all over that beat and does such a great job. We love visiting with him every Friday. At Jim's Place, over 100 years of charcoal grill steaks, over 100 years of celebration, family time, and lasting great memories. The Terrace family with their touch for our community. Recipes that date back to the beginning in downtown to now in Collierville at the railroad tracks at Poplar and Houston Levee. Online at jimsplacegrill.com. Don't forget the E in grill, where in every steak's grilled perfectly over an open flame. Come to Jim's Place and taste and see and feel the difference. Lunch hours, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Dinner hours, Monday through Saturday, 5 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. No reservation required. Enjoy the great bar area while you're getting ready to get to your table. Since 1921, a Memphis landmark with hard work, values, and a dedication to their beloved diners. The Terrace family, they've created that memorable dining experience. The lunch menu, the staples like the souffle mauve, the crab cakes, the shrimp cocktail, and those salad dressings, all homemade. At dinner, the calamari, soup, seafood, and the steaks that made Jim's Place famous. Fillets, ribeyes, and strips. That great bar area that's bustling right now, all at Jim's Place Grill in Collierville.
I've made the decision. Tennessee's loss against Ohio State, Sweet 16 loss. So congratulations to Tennessee, already a Sweet 16.
Sweet 16. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. The more I thought about it, you put me on the spot, Brett, and I just throw out numbers. But the more I think about it, say Sweet 16. So
Sweet 16, good year.
And then it lines up, man. You get that, then Elite 8, and then obviously you get to the football semifinals will be Final Four.
Is a football Elite 8 the same as basketball?
That's a good question. I don't know.
And do you think it's harder to win it all in basketball or football?
And that's another great question. We'll have to, we're gonna shelve this for right now, and we're going to come back to this because I think
we will rejoin.
I think this is a really good conversation that we don't have enough time to really delve into.
And there's not right answer.
No, and I think that's what makes
there's
this
always vagaries
fun.
in everything.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes this fun. But let's go ahead and get to a break, and when we return, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Crunch Time.
Stock number SC12-64070, MSRP 48,840, dealer discount 4,000, 2,000 customer cash, 3,000 bonus cash, sale price 39,840, interest starts at date of purchase on approved credit, expires 3/3/25.
There's an institution in East Memphis that I love talking about. It's the Spirit Shop at 4848 Poplar Avenue, right down the street from Clark Tower, and it looks like a log cabin. It's been around Memphis since 1969 with a family-owned, friendly, knowledgeable sales staff that is just a wonderful place to go. I love going in and talking wine or bourbons, and they've got such great selection. So if you've not visited the Spirit Shop in a while, it's been remodeled. You'll love what you see when you need spirits. Tell Eddie Wollo said hello.
Whether you're teeing off or heading into the office or kicking back to watch the big game, Travis Matthew has you covered. Their versatile, high-quality apparel seamlessly combines style and comfort, making you look and feel your best wherever life takes you.
From performance-driven styles to everyday essentials for men and women, Travis Matthew clothing is as adaptable as it is durable, making it a perfect fit for life's many moments. Ready to elevate your everyday? Visit TravisMatthew.com and get 20% off your first order when you sign up for email.
The President's Day sales event and Trump Month is on at Gossett Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat on the Pike. 24 Dodge Hornet GT all-wheel drive, most powerful gasoline-powered SUV in its class, $27,698. 24 Jeep Gladiator Sport S, $14,191 off MSRP. Solid front and rear axles, best-in-class ground clearance, and best-in-class 7,700 pounds towing capacity compared to the Tacoma 6,500 pounds, and the only truck with a removable roof and doors. And 25 Ram 1500 Laramie Crew Cab versus Ford F-150. Multifunction tailgate and Ram box storage system that F-150 doesn't offer. $13,319 off MSRP. So drive past the rest and come to the best Gossett Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Fiat online. GossettMotorCars.net.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motorcars.
106,204, MSRP 56,265, 1500, SN 64771, MSRP 67,265, Hornet TR 3A 42,215, MSRP 35,835, includes all rebates and incentives, PF 895, excludes stock title license. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through end of the month with approved credit. Dealer stock only.
Corky's barbecue. Cooking it up. Down home way. Hickory smoke flavor like a good old day.
Hey, y'all, Jimmy Stone over here with Corky's Barbecue. Catering is our specialty. Millions have trusted Corky's to cater their events for 40 years. As we make it easy for you and delicious for your guests. Whether it's 50 people or thousands, our experienced team comes to your location, sets up, serves, and ensures everyone enjoys a Corky's all-you-can-eat barbecue buffet, starting at only $7.99 per person. You can't beat it. With 40 years of experience, it's easy to see why customers choose Corky's time and time again for all of their catering needs. Visit Corky'sABV.com to book us for your next
Encore flavor. Corky's barbecue.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. With that kind of money, your shoes the whole time you're there. Can't put a price on that kind of luxury. And you have switched to Progressive and you will save. For speedy security. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates not available in all states. Potential savings will vary.
This is pretty cool, and we're just getting started, so.
Spanning the globe. Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! This is Geraldo. It is crunch time. You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, high school.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Well, Brett, what I just learned within the last 15 minutes, the Grizzlies are making some moves. The Shams reported this 12 minutes ago. The Memphis Grizzlies are signing forward Lamar Stevens to a 10-day contract. Lamar Stevens has been playing with the Motor City G League team. That's the affiliate of the Detroit Pistons earlier for most of this season. He also played with the Grizzlies last year with all of those injuries, so he's certainly familiar with this team. But in doing that, the Grizzlies are also releasing Johnny Davis to create roster space. Sources said the Davis, the number 10 pick in 2022, is expected to receive some interest in free agency. Especially when I saw his name on the status report yesterday as not with team. I thought it was a matter of time before we saw some news about the Grizzlies releasing Johnny Davis.
I just got my Johnny Davis jersey.
Well, Johnny Davis, the great Wisconsin player and also Taco Bell spokesperson. Not many people that have Taco Bell sponsorships don't make it in their leagues. But
last night I learned I don't think I've ever pulled for an NBA game in mid-February like I did last night for Charlotte over the goofy Lakers. Luka and LeBron, both good but not great last night. Lakers fans just fawning over every move their new toy made. Austin Reeves ejected. The player they traded for having 10 and 9, and they couldn't get him. I just thought it was too funny.
Yeah, it was one of those. I bet on Mark Williams to have to do something, I should say, because I felt like he'd have a little bit of revenge in there. So yeah, he got there for me. So that was fun. What I could have done without the news coming out earlier that Major League Baseball has opted out of their ESPN TV deal for the 2026 season through 2028. There was a March 1st deadline to opt out of the final 3 years of coverage. MLB opting out of 26, 27, and 28. And MLB putting out a statement saying that they have not been pleased with the minimal coverage that Major League Baseball has received on ESPN's platforms over the past several years outside of the actual live game coverage. They also said later in that memo sent out to teams that they have several interested parties about their rights, which ESPN held.
If they think they've had minimum coverage now,
oh good Lord,
wait till after this.
Yeah.
And they're right. You can't make them talk.
No. I mean, unless there's a game on, there is no baseball being talked.
Because we got to talk about what LeBron ate for breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
And what the Cowboys are doing.
And whether Dak Prescott's a lead or not.
Exactly.
Yeah. I could have done without this. I could do without this tonight. No booing. Come on now. No booing the Canadian anthem. No fighting in the stands. It could get ugly tonight in Boston.
Yeah.
Play nice, hockey fans. Play nice.
Yeah, we'll see how tonight plays out. Where are you beaming tonight?
Me to Indianapolis for the Grizzlies at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. The Grizzlies, the 2 in the West right now. Indiana, the 4 in the East. 2 old ABA teams. No shock that Rick Carlisle has a good team. In fact, Indiana in the ABA, they won 3 ABA titles.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow, all right. So maybe they can have some of that success.
Memphis franchise never got
well,
close to winning.
That happens, I guess. But good for Indiana, I guess. Beam me. I mean, how could you not beam anywhere other than Boston tonight? USA, Canada, showdown for the finals of the Four Nations face-off. We already saw what happened last week in Canada, now on the home turf. USA got them the first time. Will they be able to do it again? They're going to have to use everything like they did in Game 1. Everyone after that game saying it was a perfect game from USA. They'll need another perfect one tonight if they want to beat Canada on their home ice. 9
NBA games with the Grizzlies getting ready to start in about 5 minutes in Indianapolis. Clippers at Milwaukee. We'll watch that. Lakers and LeBron and Luka in Portland. We talked a lot about Wichita State at FAU in the AAC. The standings in the AAC starting to matter a little more than I ever dreamed they would.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the way it's looking in the American. But yeah, you mentioned it.
Sunday's everything.
The Sunday is big, certainly for the Tigers. But I still feel really good about that matchup for them against FAU.
Good enough to go the whole bankroll, Tiger bankroll?
No, I don't know if there would ever be a
Never
game
feel that good,
would make me feel that good about anything. One ranked team playing tonight in college basketball. It's the 20th ranked Maryland Terrapins tonight at home against USC. Long travel for USC. That game on FS1 tonight at 7:30. So a lot to watch tonight. Enjoy it all. Enjoy your night. We'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon.